What's up, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar. I'm joined today with my buddy down here, the Dan Without Fear,
Hey,
and
folks.
this gentleman here to my right that needs no introduction, but just in case, Shane Davis. Who are you?
Oh, who am I? I'm a comic fan. A comic artist second, probably. Maybe first. I don't know which came first, being a comic artist or being a fan. That's like that chicken before the egg thing. Yeah, because it's like, but I'm normally a comic book artist, but I'm a pretty big toy collector too. So, um, I guess sci-fi movie fan, Godzilla fan, big Godzilla fan. So.
Godzilla. I see an Evangelion Godzilla head back there.
You know what that was? That was like
Mecha
they had like
Godzilla.
yeah, no. Do you know what those are? Those are popcorn buckets.
What?
They were from Japan. Yeah. My wife got me these. These are popcorn buckets. So they came in a set because I guess Evangelion did like a Godzilla crossover, right?
Well,
So
the
that's
guy,
why
the guy that directed Evangelion, Ano, he went on
the
to
movie
direct the
is he
Godzilla movie. Yeah,
the Shin Godzilla movie. He's
which
the
was
same director.
awesome.
Yeah, that's actually a really awesome movie. Like if it's kind of weird too, that movie. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but there's like a weird thing about the scientist at the beginning in the boat. You know, when they find the boat that's empty and it's missing the dude, right? So
Yeah.
there's something weird about that. Like there's theories about it and stuff. Like they never
If it's
explain that.
directed by Ano, there's hundreds
Yeah,
of
yeah.
forums talking about it. Yes, yes, of course.
So
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 wait,
this
wait,
is
these are
this is
popcorn holders?
yeah. They had like straps. My wife got them for me for an anniversary. They were from Japan. So the head opens up and it's just
No.
yeah. And these are like one of these has lights. I think it's the Ava head has lights. And they had like a strap that you could hook on so you could wear it around you and just pull popcorn out of it. It made no sense. These are really nice though. Like the eyes are very reflective and stuff. Like and their
That's
mouths
cool.
move. Yeah, I didn't even know these existed. And my wife's like, I don't
I
want you
didn't
to know how
either.
much I paid for them. And I was like, I didn't want to ask. I'm pretty sure they were pretty expensive because they were like for an event in Japan.
We're
Like
very lucky in America to get a bucket with the art of like Guardians of the Galaxy or
Yeah,
or, or a or a Thanos mug during Endgame, like with a straw coming out of his not well put together head.
they
Like
come
those
with
are
like
awesome.
yeah. So see, it's kind of hard. I'm not gonna open it for collector's reasons, but they come with like these Evangelion straps. They're in like bubble wrap. So I guess they hook around the head, and you just put it around here, and you open its head and just eat popcorn out. It makes some sense though. I'm gonna show you how the Evangelion opened up if I can figure it out. That's how good of a popcorn bucket it is. Dude, I don't want to break it. But his mouth open, and he actually takes batteries, and his eyes light up. The other one doesn't.
which is what you want in a movie theater.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. It opens up that way. There you go. So it's got like a
Justin.
hinge.
Justin's right. That's Japan for you, taking things to the next level. They always got to one up our Thanos mug.
Dude, this thing is like the size of your head. Like it's not like I mean that's
Thank you,
just to
Bruce.
give a scale. Like that's pretty so you're supposed to wear it like this in theater. I guess
Yes.
you would just open it up and just
Shane's nickname is not Tiny Head Shane Davis. So this is
I
average human size head.
which is weird. A lot of cool Evangelion figures are kind of usually small. Like they're not
Yeah.
Hmm.
very big. So it's to me super strange to actually have like a really cool big Evangelion head with eyes that light up and stuff. I never put the batteries in, but no BS. It actually takes batteries down here to turn on and off for the glowing eyes. I just thought it was sweet, but they were part of a set. Like I guess you can buy them individually, but that's that.
I really like the Mecha Godzilla with the Ava 01 head.
Yeah,
Like that colors.
that's a
Mhm.
nice matchup. Mecha Godzilla is a great robot. Like that Mecha
Yeah,
Godzilla,
man.
that's the second. Is it the second or third version? I think that's because the third version he just ended up with like a jetpack and stuff, or yeah, whatever. Because that's what he needed.
So today
Ugh.
we are going to be talking about Transformers in general. And
Mm.
before we get started, I guess mention, we lost the great guy today. We lost Dennis O'Neil. He passed
Mhm.
away, 81 years old. It's a good run. It's a good run. I think most of us hope to make it that long. So one of the things that he was known for, of course, is all the creating one of Batman's greatest nemesis. But he also got to
Wait,
name.
hang on
Go,
one second. There's a story of Rage Al Ghul, right?
you mean
There,
Raj? But go ahead.
Raj. There
I'm
you go.
just. I'm
That's the
kidding. I'm
story.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's the story, though. That's the story. Denny O'Neil said it was one way, but
Yes.
he would call it Raj Al Ghul, and
Yeah.
I didn't want that to slip by. I wasn't trying to interrupt you, though.
Well, the cartoon said it one way, right?
Right.
It's so awesome, like the story behind that. And anytime you see him on an interview, how all that got started. Um, but one thing he did also was, he got the name Optimus Prime, right? Like when him and Bob Budiansky were given the task of all these things. So it ties into a little bit of this.
Yeah, but I like the way you phrased that of he got to do it. When it was more of Jim Starlin dumped it on his desk, he named Optimus Prime. How about somebody else does the rest of this?
He named Optimus Prime. If he had dumped it on like somebody else's desk, we would have ended up with something else like Truckus Maximus.
Star Master.
Did you see the Netflix episode of the toys? There's a toy show. I'm not.
Yeah,
Toys That Made Us?
Toys That Made Us.
Yeah, there's a whole episode on that, and they do like a reenactment of them dumping the box of toys down the office. And I'm really bad with names, but the artist that's really famous for GI Joe, I like his stuff a lot, and I can't remember his name. God, this is embarrassing.
No, it's okay, Shane. And there was a writer like Larry Hama.
Larry Hama, okay,
Yeah.
but didn't he do like some layouts and stuff?
Yeah, he was an artist as well.
Yeah.
And an actor.
So it actually went through a whole chain of Dennis O'Neil to Larry Hannah to someone else to, like you said, Jim Starlin. Like they reenact the whole thing and they talk about it. And there's a little interview with Denny O'Neil,
Yeah.
whichever, there about that too, about his feelings about it. I thought he named more than one Transformer, though. I know he named Optimus, but I think another name stuck. I can't remember which one it was.
I know Bob Budiansky named Megatron, and I can't remember who else got to name what. But the one that stuck out was Optimus Prime.
So those were die clones, technically. So those were
at the time. Yeah.
At the time, they were Transformers in the making, dude. So when I was in Singapore, I would get my wife to take me to like they have like these toy markets where they block off downtown China, and I just went on this. It was very stupid of me, but I thought I could just magically find some old die clones that somebody didn't know what they were, and then I would just smuggle them back to America and be rich. And there was none to be found. A lot of cool robots, but yeah, I mean, like I was like, they don't know what they have. I'm just gonna go over and mine for garage sale. Like you think it's gonna be like a American garage sale, which you come across some gems sometimes, but it was nothing like that. It was like everybody knew the price and the logistics of every toy. It was like
What year was it?
That I was trying to do this? This was like 2 or 3 years ago.
But, Shane, yeah, you were too late. Maybe in like 1999, 98. That was good. Those were good years for trying to rip people off that didn't know what they had.
Before cell phones and
before they could go, let me check on eBay. Liar.
I'm just
5 years ago. I bought a whole box of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from a yard sale for $20, and they had all the pieces in the box. You just have to go piece them all together. I mean, they were in good condition too, and even the box they were in was a TMNT box. It was just, you can still find stuff some places, but you really have to go to rural areas where people really aren't. Yeah. They you have to make sure they don't have internet. Like you need to go out and
stick. See, I made a mistake 6 or 7 years ago now. Like up until then, I was having pretty decent luck at yard sales with finding old Transformers or at least Transformers in general. And then I was at the Goodwill in town and came across a Rodimus Prime trailer, and it was like, I don't need a Rodimus Prime trailer. And I left it. And ever since then, I haven't found anything else. It was like, oh, I angered the toy gods.
Oh yeah, you messed that up.
my comic book shop guy, he goes around and the thing with those toys, especially Transformers, is the hard part is finding a box, right? A
Oh yeah.
couple of years ago, somebody came in and he bought the collection, but it was all of the Dinobots in their box, and they still had KB toy stickers on them. Like, and they never been open, mint condition. Every Swoop, Snarl, Grimlock, all of them all together in one box, and it blew my mind. And you go, oh, it's got KB's toy sticker on it, but it's like that probably actually makes it more valuable. Like you're talking about like a toy franchise that nobody remembers anymore. And what gets me about when somebody comes across something like that is, one, it gets me that they came across it and not me. Okay, I'll be honest. That gets me. But two, what gets me about that is like, so did that kid never get this present?
Right.
Like what happened?
Like one of the weird things about living here, where we do so close to Cincinnati, is you still hear stories of people who used to work at Kenner who have just stuff in their basement, that they were given as production samples or whatnot, and it's just sealed Star Wars toys from the 70s and 80s. But like I see people posting collections of box stuff, and I'm just astounded that it exists at all.
Isn't that the story of Mile High Comics? Like how they ended up with that big collection? It was a certain editor at DC Comics or something, and he literally just would take all his comp copies and stack against a wall. So they just stacked up, like, against the back of his office, and then I think there's a story about that, and that's how that original collection came to be, and that they were actually preserved is because they were just stacked and flattened against a wall. Like
it was an estate auction. You're right, and it was an editor. I think maybe DC, and he had just stacks and stacks of comic books. And Chuck and another friend of his bought all this stuff at an auction and ended up hauling it halfway across the country. It's a really good story. I think they actually have a video, I think, on YouTube explaining how they got all that.
But toys is like, some of these toys, especially when they come in the boxes and stuff like that, I kind of just felt like they're like unopened Christmas toys or something.
Yeah.
I just don't see any little kid not opening his Dinobots. I just, that makes
no
sense.
Yeah. Something a parent bought and put away for a birthday and then forgot about.
Yeah. I remember my first Transformer, which actually I have a replica of, and there's a funny story. Was Sideswipe. So
Good
that
choice.
was my first Transformer. This is, of course, not the original. This is not my original. This is like, I guess they made a duplicate 10 years ago or something.
They did a classics line, right? Like
in America, they did,
and
then they did an Encore line, but that doesn't look like the Encore one.
I got this in Canada, so I'm not so sure.
Man,
and the guy was kind of shady too, so I
can't trust those Canadians, dude.
Like, I mean, but it looked legit to me. I was like, well, this is the box, and this is the cool box art, back there.
Yeah.
Everything. But it's funny because I never wanted Sideswipe, but then he became my favorite, and I wanted Mirage, and my dad was like, well, I'm going to buy you the car I like. Which was
it's a Lamborghini.
No
right?
Lamborghini. Yeah. So that's how I ended up with Sideswipe, and I was really disappointed. I was 5 years old or something. And he grew on me after that. It's one of those things. But
well, if it makes you feel better, I don't know anybody who had Mirage as a kid who didn't end up with two halves of Mirage very quickly.
Yeah, he was so flimsy, man.
I had that one pin in the center, and it broke apart so easy.
Yeah. Then my second Transformer was Swoop, and I broke Swoop.
I thought Shane had nothing but love for Canada.
Nothing. Look, I love all good things are in Canada. Actually, I'm going to add to that. So my wife, even though she's from Singapore, we first physically met because we were pen pals online in Canada, in Vancouver. So yeah, I have like a lot of love in Canada.
Come on, man.
It was in
That's taking it
Vancouver,
to the
yeah.
extreme. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, but that's true. My second Transformer was Swoop, and I broke him right away trying to transform him because I was too impatient, right? So
Oh.
you know how Swoop had all the Dinobots had the plastic transparent pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was trying to get his bird beak to shove in his chest, and I didn't understand. I was too quick to go through the instructions, so I didn't pull his chest apart because it slides apart to make a gap, and I was just trying to cram this thing in, and it snapped. So my Swoop was like super glued together, and of course, super glue makes that film against anything, so it looked like crap, and it bothered me my whole it's like I because it was a really cool character. It was my favorite dinosaur, and I broke it, and I had to live with it. It's not like my parents would just give me another one, right?
Right.
So, and I was one of these people that never wanted his toys to get blemishes, so that drove me insane. What was you guys' first Transformer?
Mine,
Dan?
when I was had to be 4 or 5. Well, no, it was been 84, so I would have been 6. We were at a drugstore, and I had seen the More Than Meets the Eye trilogy. It had been a special cable TV event, if I remember right.
Right.
And we came across Soundwave at the drugstore, and it was like $12. And of course, $12 might as well have been $1 million.
Yeah.
And Mom saw how upset I was, and all right, we'll get this for you. I'm going to put it on the fridge until you save your money, and you can buy it from me when you do. And I don't remember if she actually made me do that or if she just made me wait a couple of days. But Soundwave was my very first Transformer.
That's all downhill from there. Like, you start off with Soundwave. You got to work up to Soundwave. You have to go through like Bumblebee or some of those small folding ones.
I also another memory that just sticks out though is walking through a toy store one day and seeing Galvatron and asking, "Can I have this?" Because I'm a kid and I literally pick up everything I walk by and say, "Can I have this? Can I have this?" And my parents said, "Yeah, sure." And I was like, "Wait, hang on, what?" I had already put it back. Like, I just remember that for some reason, like Galvatron was the one that said, "Oh yeah, that looks like the toy that you need to have right now."
Yeah. What was yours, Omar?
I was growing really jealous of both of your stories. I grew up in Peru, and I have told this story many times on this show, where I kind of made my own Transformers out of corn husk. We had a cornfield right across from us, and we grew up pretty poor. It wasn't until '87 here that I grew up and had the best Christmas ever. We came here in January of '87 to the United States, and my aunt and uncle had bought like all these presents because we're used to getting like one present a year in Peru, and they had all these presents, and they were like, "No, it's all for you guys," and I was like, "What?" I thought they were being sweet, and they were waiting to open presents like till we got there. But my very first Transformer was a hand-me-down Transformer from our neighbor. Like he was getting rid of a box of stuff, and he said, I heard Optimus Prime, and I got really excited.
Oh.
And I ended up with Rodimus Prime, so that was my very first Transformer. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is an Optimus Prime? And I had seen the movie, and I'm like, and you know the differences, right? Like by the time the third season toys came out, they were really kind of crappy compared to the first two seasons, right?
Yeah.
Especially those original Diaclone figures. But those third season toys were really shitty. Like he was so stiff, and like there was no articulation, and like his trailer had the stickers off of it. I'm like, man, this is a really shitty Transformer. But that was my first one. That was my very first one. And Hot Rod ended up. I love Hot Rod by design. He's probably my favorite Transformer.
Yeah, see, I'm like, I can't get into Hot Rod. I don't know. Like, there's something about the red and yellow. It's weird. I'm friends with some of the guys who work for 3A, the Ashley Wood company, but they acquired a Transformer license, and it's interesting. like whenever you acquire the Transformer license, one of the mandates is you have to make Optimus Prime first. So if
Really?
you ever, yeah, but then some video game got around that, or somebody else, they were talking to me, they got around it by doing Rodimus first. Like, so they didn't know if it was just they got around it as long as it's, which is weird. If you look at anybody that's ever acquired the rights for Transformers, it is always the first release. If they're like doing a statue or something, there's a reason it's always Optimus. It's really
I guess
bizarre, but
I
that's
never thought about that, but I guess you're right. When I see statues, when I see
Yeah, it
blood,
makes some.
I just
yeah.
thought it was because he's the most iconic character out of them. Like if you acquire Disney rights, the first thing you make is Mickey Mouse.
The only time I've seen that not happen, which I don't know if it's because of the movie, but the Bumblebee movie 3-0 did toys for, and the first release in the DLX or whatever line it is was Bumblebee, and then they did Optimus. So I don't know if it was because it literally the name of the movie was Bumblebee that maybe they got around it. But and this is coming from the same people too, mind you. So I found that very strange. But see, they had already made Optimus Prime technically with the Michael Bay stuff, so I think they already passed that qualification. But that it's weird because it's probably Optimus Prime has probably been the most produced Transformer thing ever.
Oh yeah.
Like that one character.
What's up, Project Viking? Literally watching the '80s movie right now, and that is the only movie that counts. Bumblebee's pretty good though.
If I'm remembering right, didn't Palisades do a line of statues in the early aughts? And I want to say Soundwave was their first one, but I could be misremembering that.
Or they the ones that did Unicron? The big Unicron statue. It was early aughts when that came out.
I think Hard Hero did that one. They were doing the mini busts.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah.
I only kept 2 of those, so I don't remember.
to the wiki.
See, now I don't know if that counts if it meant figures or statues. See, they only dealt with figures, and they just said that was part of the requirement for doing the license, which I thought was super strange. But then it's interesting as a company, it always keeps your flagship character out there. Like, if you're doing an expensive toy and you're doing one release at a time, maybe it's not feasible for you to continue the line too long, but by God, we got Optimus out there in front of people again,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and definitely until the movies. I mean, he was everyone knows Optimus and Soundwave.
Yeah. Which is so strange because, like, to me, like, Soundwave, I mean, I love Soundwave, but he was always kind of like a background character to me. Like, he wasn't, like, super popular to me as a kid. Like, I knew everybody loved him and everything, and I loved Soundwave. I even went in on the Walmart copy, whatever. This thing's like crazy. I don't know if you've seen this, but I don't know if this thing is like the old one because I never had the old one. But it actually has like a dial in the back or on the side, like and like a little clip, like to put on your belt. Did you ever see? I don't.
Soundwave to my belt many times.
You'll get struck if you put this up, but did you ever see those old Diaclone TV commercials for the original ones where the little kid jumps out with the handgun?
I know.
It's like, so, like, even overseas, it's like, what were you guys thinking? Like, just
the gun robo commercials. It's like, oh, okay. I guess I see why they didn't import all of those at the same time. Real-time follow-up. The Palisades Transformer statues, the first one was Optimus Prime in 2003. I was wrong.
Oh. See, maybe there's some truth. Maybe they weren't pulling my leg. I know the guys. There's no reason they would tell me different, but I thought that was always strange. Yeah, I thought that part of that story, though, about, so the Transformers were originally 2 or 3 different lines of figures meshed into one. I thought that was all, because that always bugged me, even as a young kid. I'm like, how is Megatron just like this, giant Statue of Liberty robot that then shrinks to the size of a handgun? Like the physics of that bothered me even as a kid. Like that really bothered me. And then all of a sudden he's in Starscream's hands, and then all of a sudden he's just normal human size. Or like Soundwave was in the other one. But those guys, for anybody that didn't see that episode, they were all part of a different line of what they called 1/1 scale Diaclones, I guess.
Yeah.
So they weren't even supposed to go with the other ones,
Right. But
So
that,
really quick, I was going to answer this question about the
yeah,
IDW hardcovers. They are all, if they're not in print, they're coming back into print.
they I just went through and got all of phase one within the last year, and they had gone out of print and then they came back in print. So unless they've gone back out of print, I think they are currently in print right now. Listen to that. Dan knows a thing about a hardcover comic book that Omar wasn't quite sure of.
I know they're evergreen. I don't know when they come back in the print or not, but I play it safe and just say that sometime they will be back into print.
Yeah, I think they are all currently in print, and the newest volume of Phase 2 just came out this past week.
What? No, it didn't.
It did.
Bullshit. Because
It arrived from Amazon with
God
Tarn on the cover.
dang it! Are you serious?
Yeah. See, now I gotta go get it.
This is why I hate doing live episodes. I'm waiting for Diamond to get that. They got it before Diamond did? See, IDW was one of those comic companies that got caught up in the middle of the pandemic and then pulled some books out. So, but the book, you bastard, you got it before I did.
Yeah.
You better do an overview of that. All right.
Yeah, it's got the end of Lost Light in it, or end of Robot More Than Meets the Eye.
I am slipping. Look, Andrew M. He's with me. He comes out next week. I thought so too, man. And I'm slipping up. I'm letting Dan get all that. I just ordered it too. Dang it! I missed out on that. Do you ever read the comic books, Shane? I know you're a big Transformers guy, but did you read the comics?
No, that's one of those weird things. Like, and it's hard for me too because like I go to the TFW 2005 like website every day, so a lot of the Transformers are either the newer ones are designs from comics and stuff, and we hear people talk about it, but I did not follow the Transformer comics. I didn't, believe it or not, as big a Transformer fan as I am, I didn't really even follow the Transformer stuff when Pat Lee was doing it. Like I just never followed the comics for some reason. I was always big into the cartoon, and that's pretty much it. Like I can almost quote certain things like scripture out of the cartoon, the original G1 cartoon and stuff. But I don't know why I never, for some, it was weird. There was like a comic artist that came in to talk to us at the Kubert School one year, and he had done some Marvel UK Transformer artwork. And he was talking about how like one day he just decided rather than draw them transforming, they just kind of melded into the vehicle, and then his editor just told him to do it. It was cool, do whatever you want. And for some reason I was just, maybe that put a bad taste in my mouth that Transformer comics were like garbage. I don't know. It messed with me. Because I literally saw this guy draw, like, I think it was even Rodimus, like transformed, but he just melted into the car, and I was just like, bullshit, like that didn't happen. There's a sound effect. He folds up. You can't just make it up. And the fact that guy was bragging about making it up, and his editor just allowed him to do it, I was just like, I think that just put a bad taste in my mouth about Transformers being represented in comic books. I'm serious. I'm like, it's like food poisoning. Like if you eat something, you get food poisoning, then it just like it, you never want it again, right?
You get that. So get that grain of like, oh. And it's
oddly enough, though, I'm friends with John Barber. We worked together on his first book at Marvel Comics back in the day, which he then went to IDW and worked on a lot of that stuff and has written a lot of that stuff. So I'm pretty close with John and whatnot. And we've talked like, hey, you should do a Transformers cover. And I'm like, I never took him up on it for IDW just because I was too chicken shit. There was two reasons. I was too chicken shit to do it. That's like one of those things. It's like, yeah, maybe one day. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to call him up and do a Transformer cover. And then I'm like, I probably won't get what I want. It'll probably be like RC's Big Day Out or something like that. And I don't want to draw that, so I would make any subconscious excuse not to take him up on it. So I've never worked on Transformers.
Oh,
because of that.
You should, man.
No, I know I should. I've drawn robots before. I would love to draw like Transformers. It's one of those things. It's like it's like if you really liked something as a kid and as a fan, believe it or not, like the psychology behind it is you're more afraid you'll mess it up, like, or you won't do it justice, like, or it's like one day I'll be a little bit better and I'd rather do it then. It's really weird. There's a lot of things like that. If I'm a really big fan, like I think I mess up Spider-Man every time I draw Spider-Man, so I quit asking to do. Like,
Okay.
I'm serious. I'm not even making that up. Like, like one of the last covers I did was like for the relaunch of Spider-Man #1. It was a variant. I just like I hate it so much. I'm not gonna ever ask for Spider-Man again. I've done a few covers with Spider-Man on. Some of them that got around on the internet, like because it had Deadpool on it or something like that. And I'm just like, but Deadpool I kind of like, not a huge Deadpool fan. I feel like I do that fine. It's really weird. I don't know. It gets in your head if you really like something. You kind of are afraid to work on it.
I
At
remember
least
reading interviews with some writers about that, like huge fans of like X-Men, right? And then when they took over the X-Men run, they were just trying to mimic back to the days of like Chris Claremont, and they were like, "Man, I probably was better off not writing X-Men. I should have just stayed a fan." So I
yeah,
get that fear,
Oh yeah.
but you never know when you can knock it out, man. Strike
yeah,
gold, right?
yeah,
It could have been
I,
Shane Davis on IDW
yeah.
Transformers.
Dude, I don't know. It like yeah, and, like I'm already shaking. Like
I'm sorry, Shane. I didn't mean to give you a panic attack. Please
no,
don't do that on the air.
but I heard good things though. Like every now and then I see something they're doing. I'm like super excited about like Terminator versus Transformers, whatever that crossover is. I heard good
Hmm.
things about that first issue.
Yeah, that first issue was really good.
Yeah, I saw some preview art and stuff and heard a review, and it was like, oh, that would have been something I would have loved to have done. I'm a big Terminator fan, sort of, kind of. Everybody is big T2 fan, so.
You're not into the My Little Pony Transformers crossover?
I
'Cause
saw that. Me and my
that's what
wife.
I'm about.
No, no. Did you
Like,
see the toy? Did you see the toy?
Hmm.
yes, I did, and my wife was like, "Where can you order that?" And I was like, "Really? I don't want to go down that dark rabbit hole,
Yeah,
because then I'll
yeah,
order all of them."
yeah. Before you know it, you'll be a brony, man.
I'm okay with that. I'm
There
okay
are
with
worse
that.
things.
There are
Yeah.
worse things. Yes, exactly. I could be. So, do you get man? So you're missing out on all the cool third-party toys then.
Well, no, I do
No,
collect some
okay.
third-party toys. It's just
From
some.
the comics though is what I was talking about.
Oh no, yeah. If they're comics, I don't really get them.
Like, look at
I'm
Tarn.
actually,
Dan, show that Tarn's face again. Look at this thing, man. Oh, he's got a Tarn.
Yeah, got it right here.
He's
see,
got a Decepticon face,
A
Shane. Look
Tarn.
at that.
I
Did
know
you just
I've
call him a
seen.
Tarn?
I did.
Like
I
we're
did.
gonna cut him open and sleep inside his belly?
No, man. Look how badass he is, Shane. You
I've
need
seen
that.
I've seen that guy, believe it or not. I've seen that guy on BBTS, and I've looked at him. I've seen reviews. One of the YouTubers I like is EMGO. Is that his name? How do
Mhm.
you say his name? Yeah. So I watch all his reviews. But I come across these all the time. I'm like, that looks so cool. Especially those. I have. So what's your theory on the third party stuff? Why do they
Transform
allow
it, Dan. Yeah, it's gonna take an hour to do
Yeah,
that.
that's right. And it, I feel like I'm just being trolled because every time I transform something on one of these videos, people are like, "Why is Dan making all that noise?" Um,
that? Oh,
uh, theory on the third party stuff as to why Hasbro allows it to exist.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, get your lawyer talk out, Dan.
well, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, they see it as really no harm, no foul. It's not cutting into their market in any way. Because if it were, they would obviously go after it. So you have to figure they see it as being in addition to what they're putting out, and it's just kind of fanning the flame. I mean, this is all conjecture, of course, on my part, but it's just fanning the flames. It's keeping people interested in Transformers in general. And I think as long as the people are careful about the like trademarked IP, which they are almost across the board universally,
Right.
then then they seem to be, if not okay with it, willing to turn a blind eye. That said, I mean, Omar and I had, when was it the last BotCon or the second to last BotCon, the one in Louisville? Um, they
Oh
Hasbro
yeah,
shut down
it was the last
anyone in
one.
the dealer room who was selling third-party toys, to the point
Mhm.
where the third-party sellers got space in another hotel
Hmm.
nearby the first night and tried to sell that, and
Dude,
then ended up
there
like,
there were cops.
yeah,
There were
they had
cops
like
at
cops
the
coming in and
booth.
closing down the booths.
That's some hard ass
So
No.
shit right there for Transformer toys.
I think it's a, you can do it, but don't do it around our stuff and at our official convention. But
See,
that said, they have gone after like the actual like ripoffs of
right.
licensed stuff. So
That's where like so when I was overseas, a lot of stores actually hold the third party stuff a lot. Like there's just big toy stores of other toys, but they carry a lot of the third party and masterpiece toys, but a lot of third party stuff.
mhm.
Surprisingly, almost they sell more of it than they do like the official Takara stuff. What's interesting to me about that is sometimes I feel like they're just letting somebody else, take risk and engineer things that they can then just troubleshoot and say, well, if we do make this, we'll make it better.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's some of that, but I think some of that's just different culture in Japan because my wife, she's a big comic book reader, but she reads a lot of the what I would call the girly romance fan fiction, aka whatever manga porn versions of whatever characters, Dragon Ball Z or whatever, right? And it's very weird because a lot of manga artists come from that stuff, like professionals. They start off in these fan fiction comics in their culture, but no creators ever shut it down. Like
hmm
they actually print it, they just can't print it in big numbers. So I think there's some type of cultural thing to that overseas they just kind of feel that way about it.
And there's also, you're right, a copyright difference too in different countries. So Andrew's saying people can sell bootleg movies at cons without any problems, so the cops come for third party. They did,
They
like
did
no
that
joke.
one con. There was one con they did shut down. Cops came
yeah,
in for those movies once. I've only heard of that one con. I don't know if
I've
they.
seen.
yeah. But
Uh, I've also
No,
been
that the
to a.
one. I don't know if we're talking about the same one, but it wasn't just the cops. It was the FBI
yeah,
came
well, the
in.
FBI would. I mean, that's
They would
federal
take an
law,
interest in
but
that.
because I mean, it's copyright, it's federal law
Yeah,
enforcement.
yeah, yeah.
But I think the difference there though is that like this is, you go to movie, even like genre movie conventions and things like that, they generally aren't put on by the studios. I think the difference here was that this was the official Hasbro convention, and they're like, if you're coming into our house, don't don't bring the third party stuff, which I think is reasonable.
I think it was
Surprising,
Hero. I
but
think it
reasonable.
was Heroes Con. It would have been before 2010. Whenever the Ang Lee movie came out, that old Hulk movie, the
hmm
2003.
2003.
Not that I'm a
I
fan. I think it's 2003.
Dude, I have a copy of that movie, a bootleg copy I was able to buy before the movie came out. I didn't buy it, my brother bought it. And so we were like, okay, we'll watch it that night. And we put it on, all of a sudden the Hulk is running around with no pants. Like, it's fucking hilarious. It's
Yep,
like the
it was
Hulk.
2003. I had to check.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like they had the movie done, but the last things they were ever modeling on the Hulk was his purple pants. So there was like, and in one scene, they literally blurred out like his crotch. Like it was like, I guess they just did it for fun. Like so, it was just like the Hulk running around naked. It's some of the dog CGI stuff looked really bad too, but it was just. But
It
the
didn't
whole
get
movie
any
was
better.
there.
It didn't get any
Like,
better
it
in
didn't get better.
in the end.
Yeah.
My brother, I remember when my brother had a copy of Wolverine, the very first movie, Wolverine Origin or something, and
Yeah.
he had just watched it, and I was like, I'll wait till he comes out in the movies, man. I'm good. He was like, dude, don't go see this. This is gonna be horrible. Like there are scenes where he's literally like jumping, and there's like, I guess there were supposed to be explosions behind him. He didn't know that the CGI wasn't there. So he was so confused because, because like Wolverine is like there's scenes where he's jumping with his claws out and he looks ridiculous. You can see the wires. Why did they let this movie come out? Man,
I was friends because I did some covers for him. I'm not going to remember his name, but the
Hugh Jackman.
producer,
Oh,
no,
okay.
the producer of that movie. I can't remember his name. He wrote Ash versus Evil Dead versus Jason or some type of mix up, toss up of IP. He used to work on Booster Gold with Dan Jurgens, or not Dan Jurgens drew it, but he wrote it or something back in the day. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he told me like the amount of money they thought they lost from that leaked video because he was a producer on that movie. He also told me what Ryan Reynolds got paid for that movie, which I don't think I'm supposed to know. But somehow, just being in the right time at the right place.
Look, you
It
got
was
a
like,
lot of Canadian fans right now watching, Shane.
look, the guy was drunk. See, I shouldn't say it.
Yeah, you can't brag about this knowledge that you know,
No,
man.
I know.
And
And
then
what if I die? No, what if I die and then
Whoa,
nobody knows?
not where I
Well,
was
that's what I'm
going.
saying.
That got
No,
dark.
but I'm saying this could leave this earth with me. I think I should.
Well, so you
share
gotta
it.
Well,
write it down. And
Pretty
put it-
sure
put
Ryan
it
Reynolds
with your
remembers
will.
too.
Like, here's all the
So-
gossip that I didn't feel comfortable sharing during my life.
Ryan Reynolds, what I was told by a drunk producer.
Okay.
He had a lot of beers in him, okay? And so he could have just been telling me this. I don't know. He probably, like, he would say I never told him this, but he told me he got paid like $6,000 to be in
What?
that movie.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's how bad I was told from the drunk producer. That's how bad Ryan Reynolds wanted to be Deadpool.
$6,000 American
Yeah.
money, not Canadian
Well,
money.
You know, in fairness,
well,
though,
Canadian
in the long game that worked out, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it did, but up until Deadpool, that didn't work out at all because it was
Northern mint
But-
condition
so-
represent.
so-
Hearing drug secrets is what Canadians do. See,
but here's my theory on this. This is Shane Davis putting everything together with this, and whatever. Somebody's going to come after me. This is my theory. Hugh Jackman didn't want Ryan Reynolds in the movie, because Hugh Jackman was also a producer on that movie. That was probably like one of his
$10 US. Ouch. Oh, that's Hugh Jackman wanted him on the movie, huh? I heard they're really good friends.
No, didn't want him on the movie.
Now
That's
you're
my
stirring up.
theory.
This is
No,
not
no, no,
TMZ.
No,
This is near mint condition, Shane.
Tell me if this makes sense, though.
Okay.
He didn't want him on the movie, so he lowballed it. He's like, no, I really want to be Deadpool, so I'll take it. So he called the bluff. So he ends up on the movie. If you'll notice, Ryan Reynolds is talking a lot at the beginning of the movie, the elevator scene, whatnot. He's doing his charm.
Mm-hmm.
Midway in the movie, they're sewing his mouth shut. Like, maybe Hugh Jackman just really didn't like competing on the screen with him. That's all I'm saying. That's my theory. That's my theory. I don't know. But anyways.
He took a gamble with Tim Miller right in the first movie, and it paid off. That was wonderful. Good for him.
If you saw that suit, that's not much of a gamble. If they were like, we can make Deadpool look like this in a movie. And,
well,
you know,
I'm saying, I guess the studio took a bigger gamble because it was a rated R movie, right? Based on a 5-minute clip that they saw.
Yeah, the CG clip, the one that they put out on the internet. Was that what they saw? Was the CG clip?
Yes, the CG clip. Yep. We got something from G Mald. Shane, my wife's a big fan. Can you give her a shout out? Ashley A.
Hey, Ashley A. I'm sure your husband's a fine Gundam. He's all pecked out there. Thanks for being a big fan, Ashley.
We're all big fans of you, Shane. I hope Dan. Okay, I was gonna say I hope he didn't go to the bathroom and he left his head pieces on because that would have been some funny live streaming.
No, you only have to do that one time.
One time.
I was gonna say, and I have the option of muting you, but nah, not gonna go there.
I know we were
I
talking
just
about
needed more beer.
Transformers. But I wanted to show something else. I don't think it's really came out in the States too much. Are you guys fans of Zoids or no?
Yeah, I was.
So they have like a new series, and it's been out overseas, and it's called Zoids.
What do you got?
Well, this is one built. This is a Zoid. I think it's called Zoid Wild.
Do they still move?
Yes, these do. That's why I'm bringing these up. This is what they look
cool.
like when you get them out of the box. these were all over Singapore, and they were selling like out, like even in grocery stores and stuff. Like, so you basically put them together. This is one without the armor on it. It's a Stegosaurus, so they do move.
You had me at robot dinosaurs, man.
Yeah, but
I'm
I
not
think this
much.
is for a new cartoon series that never came out in America. I'm gonna try turning the T Rex on, and this is probably the most complicated one because he actually has lights. So this thing blows up. So they'll walk a couple of times, and then they have like a trap action.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, look at that, man.
As a kid, this is fun for kids.
Oh yeah.
I'm a
I don't
42-year-old man, and
Now,
that's fun. Look at that.
yeah. So they walk like they have the funny thing, so I don't fall over walking thing.
Hmm.
But so they have different degrees of these. These are battery powered. The bigger ones, of course, they take a battery. Then they had smaller ones that are like wind up toys. So
Yeah.
you usually have a part that comes out and you wind them up, and then they'll crawl or something. Or they're pretty. The engineering of them is actually really cool. A lot
See,
of
Eric knows. Zoids, wow, man.
yeah.
Then of course, who remembers Exo Squad? Who doesn't?
Exo
Because they had
Squad.
some
yeah.
Robotech
Yes,
They
they
had some
did. Yeah.
Robotech. Come on
Yeah.
now. I remember Exo Squad. My cousin had a lot. I had one, and I was like, "This is like a mech from Robotech." It was almost like not the Valkyrie, but the oh my gosh, the Centrati pods.
Yeah. They had more bad guys than good guys. They had like a couple of the Macross tank type artillery guys, not the Macross jets, but the actual
Yeah,
like yeah.
it was like the Centrati army.
Yeah.
So speaking of bad guys, who's your favorite Decepticon design wise? I guess it's a toy because as a kid, you base it on the on the cartoon or the comic book, but sometimes you look at a new toy that would introduce you to the character instead of like watching it in the cartoon series.
In the cartoon, it was Devastator, but the toys are kind of the original G1 toys. I have like a few from when I was a kid. They're not too great,
Yeah.
Like they're pretty ratty.
There was
Like
a lot of imagination involved with
yes,
Devastator.
there was, but as a cartoon, like he was like my favorite. The or film the Devastator, the Constructicons.
Hmm.
Their color scheme was what did it for me. The green and purple.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those characters, I actually look back at the G1 characters, the color schemes that they came up with on those. Like they're, I don't know, like especially the bad guys, like they're all like really good pop split colors. Soundwave's a good one. Shockwave's a good
Mhm.
one. Megatron's the weird one though, even though he's like one of my favorite. I have like the masterpiece Megatron, just because I thought it was like one of the better,
Oh yeah.
Megatrons.
Yeah,
That
he's
they've
pretty.
made. But it's weird because he's the one that I think I didn't like the. He has no color really. That's what's weird is like all the bad guys are not too bright, but they're all colorful in their own
You
way.
can tell
Mhm.
they're bad guys by the color
Yeah.
schemes, right? Because they're all pretty plain. They're not very colorful, with the exception of like Starscream.
Well, the Seekers.
Yeah, Starscream. Yeah, the Seekers. Well,
Starscream was
Thundercracker-
different though. Starscream's got like blue gloves,
Yeah.
red, white, whereas everybody else was pretty much blue, white, purple,
Yeah,
white,
but
black.
see, I think there's a reason for that. If I wasn't in the room. When
I
they
knew
did
somebody
this.
had to say it. Soundwave superior, Constructicons inferior. That's what's up.
Oh.
They quote the movie, man.
But with what you were saying about Starscream, what I think is interesting about that, and this is again an artist theory, is because so if Megatron, if you take the Decepticons as a whole, and you have Megatron and Soundwave and cassettes, whatever, even the other Seekers, Starscream doesn't fit in color scheme with them. Like you said, he didn't look like he was colored like a bad guy, but he was always an antagonist against the Decepticons, always trying
Right.
to overthrow. So I don't know if they colored him purposely like that he doesn't fit in, because they're all obeying Megatron, but he's the one always trying to stab him in the back and take over. I actually think there's maybe a reason that he's colored that way, as from an artist perspective. I think there's something to that.
The interesting complicating factor on that though too is that in the comic he was always colored much darker than he appeared on the cartoon.
Yeah.
You know, he had the full like blue
he had,
face and
it's a blue face,
dark,
right?
dark colors throughout.
But some of that
And
comic
he, had
coloring,
less of a role.
but some of that comic coloring was very complicated back then.
Iffy.
Well, it's iffy, but they were
Hit and miss.
having to cut out acetates. So I don't know how much of a factor that was.
Right.
I don't even understand that, but evidently at one point in time, Marvel had these little old ladies. All they did is cut out these acetate color, like literally this is Spider-Man, so here's the red thing that would lay over the line artwork. Like I do not understand the color technology over the years, but there, in some era, there was just these little old ladies cutting out acetates for the colors for them to shoot from to print. Like that.
I want to see that documentary. If not, I'm gonna make that documentary. The old ladies of Marvel.
Except it's gonna be your girls cutting.
But that's why
it's a reenactment.
It's a recreation.
But you're talking about those old, really crappy newsprint copies, and I don't know how much those things have bled over time. But like, I don't know if that's what people were buying then, like, or if they've aged and it looks worse, the paper. But you'll sometimes just see like color just shoot out the line artwork sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. I think that's that era of cutting the acetates. I could be. I don't know. You just hear about color technology and printing is all.
That's one of my favorite lines from the movie. I got better things to do tonight than die. Oh man, that movie is so full of good lines.
Yeah.
What did I see the other day? I was watching a documentary on action flicks. Hell, I can't even remember what it's called. It was on Amazon, but Stan Bush showed up, right? And Stan Bush showed up because what was it was
Boogie Nights.
No, You Got the Touch.
Yeah.
He was talking about
yeah.
how he originally wrote it for shit. Was it Rambo 3?
Top Gun.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Top Gun. It was like Rambo 3 or something like that. But I was like, Stan Bush, and then they started singing it, and,
Dude,
and he stayed in the whole damn documentary because it's Stan Bush. He wasn't doing anything. I was like, yes.
That song would never fit in a Rambo movie. Like, are you sure?
Yeah, now. But if it had come out then, Shane, it would have been a different story. It's because it's embedded into your head
Rambo
that when you hear that,
tank.
you see Optimus Prime transform.
Is Rambo 3 the movie where he fights the helicopter with the blow up?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he does.
So what? You're going to tell me he was about to shoot that... Stallone was going to shoot that arrow.
I'm telling you what Stan Bush
said and done.
That song could fit in anything. That song could be in any movie.
Go back and look up that scene. You can't do it now; you get struck. But so when
which scene is that?
Where he shoots the helicopter and it explodes.
That scene.
No. Look at that scene. The explosion. So there's a waterfall right behind the helicopter, I think, or maybe I'm mixing with another movie. There's somewhere an explosion in a waterfall, and I'm pretty sure it's the arrow. And every layer of the waterfall just blows up like the water ignited into flames. It makes no sense.
That's how badass Rambo is.
Some of the logic of that, even if that was an explosive tipped arrow, like you can't explode like a helicopter with like how much explosive can you get at the tip of the arrow? You ever think about
now? Is this coming from Shane Davis, the artist, or Shane Davis, the guy that used to blow up helicopters?
I didn't blow up any.
As a kid. You didn't have a GI Joe helicopter. You blew up. Like I took my neighbor's GI Joe helicopter. We lit that thing up with fireworks. Loved it, man.
I'm just saying it doesn't. Some of the logic. See, I'm a big fan of the first Rambo movie. I don't know if you've watched.
I think most people are a fan of First Blood.
Talk about one movie that carries the whole line of movies. Like that first movie.
It definitely changed the tune. Like in the second movie, that was a lot different.
Yeah,
a little bit. Then it was like, yeah, we're doing something different with this franchise.
Dude, that scene in the first movie where, I know we're getting off topic, but if you go back, he pops a wheelie on the dirt bike. All this stuff, about climbing a mountain, and then they're coming after him. You say, but it gets real when he's in the sheriff's department holding it up, and General comes in to talk him down. right?
Yeah.
Like and he's like, he tells a story about a buddy in the war that ended up with guts everywhere, and he's like, oh, me and him had this story. We just wanted to go cruise, and then he starts crying, and it all fumbles everywhere because his acting wasn't all that great, and it's just like, dude, that's raw. Even the fact that this is horrible acting. This is so raw. It's cool. Whoever wrote that, he's like, I just wanted to go cruise and look at me now. It
Well,
was
in the book, I don't think this is going to spoil anything because it's a movie and there's a Rambo
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, and Last or Blood or whatever.
Yeah.
But in the book, he kills him. Like the general
The
kills
general?
Rambo.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like, it's a pretty dark ending.
See,
So they changed it
that's-
in the movie, not knowing they were going to make a sequel, not knowing it was going to be successful, but just because it was so dark
But-
and there's no, it's Hollywood. We needed
See,
a
I
Hollywood editing.
I never read the book, but that just made me think of Mice and Men when he had to
Lenny?
kill Lenny at the river.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sound. I wonder if I'm not knocking the book at all, but that's kind of, I think he ripped that off.
I mean, it's art-inspiring art, Shane. Come on, man. He ripped him off.
Nobody gives a Mice and Men.
Steinbeck had his heyday.
You want to know what else ripped of Mice and Men off? Right? Is Bugs
The
Bunny.
rabbit from Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. I'll just pet it. What, the abominable snowman? Like nobody calls Warner Bros.
There's that
out.
line. They drew first blood. That's right, man. Oh. The real question, though, Optimus Prime versus Rambo. If You've Got the Touch is playing you in the background.
Right
It's a fair
now, IDW.
I mean, yeah.
Listen, IDW. I have this covered. It's just Optimus Prime pulling the headband.
I think he's worn one in the comics before, too.
No. But this is the twist. This is the twist. He pulls the headband just like this, but it's like a Decepticon symbol there.
Oh, Shane, look at you.
It'd be on. Okay.
Now, see, you could draw that cover.
I
Make
could.
that happen.
That could be a retailer incentive. You don't even need to tie it to the plot.
No.
Wait a minute. That can't be real. Project Viking. Stallone wanted Rambo to hunt an alien in Antarctica for the fifth one. No, that
No,
can't be
sounds
real.
about
That's
right.
not George Lucas. That's not
That's
George
the
Lucas.
trajectory of those films.
Talking
Dude.
about things that never happened, we're going off on like a weird 80s tangent here, 90s, whatever you want to call it. But
It's
okay,
what we do.
so did you see that Predator video game trailer where it was like it's not, I'm saying Stallone, but
Schwarzenegger?
Arnold's characters talking, like he's narrating. It's like a Predator video game, but it's him narrating like he survived this whole time, and he's standing over a dead Predator's body. He has like a Predator shield or a face mask as a shoulder mount. Like he's
Sold. I'm sold.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know. Like you should go
It's a
watch.
video
just look it up
game?
after this. Yes, it's a trailer for a video game. But what's weird is like, did you see that last Predator movie?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay, so the ending,
I
right?
don't
You
know
know when he gets to Iron Man, the character, he's like, he comes out and he gets like an Iron Man sort of Predator armor, right?
Maybe.
So, like,
I really don't
evident-
remember.
Well, okay, there's a theory there at the end that I guess it leaked out and Arnold didn't take it, but that was supposed to be him coming out, and he gets this super duper Predator armor, and it was supposed to be like he did survive, and he's like head of the intel agency to hunt predators, but he was supposed
What
to be.
part of the internet are you hanging out at that you're seeing all
Dude,
these theories?
I'm telling you, that's a real thing. Google it. He turned it down, or
Between
they
you and
couldn't get
Project Viking, I got 3 things to Google.
Well,
I gotta
well,
see if Stallone
okay,
really wanted to
but-
hunt aliens.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. For some reason, he wouldn't take that scene, and that could have made the franchise take off in a way. But for some reason, he'll do a video game. I'm just like, come on. Like, I mean, like, how
Well,
do
he
you
is getting
do that?
older. It's a lot easier to do a video game.
No, but the
voiceover,
way
right?
they set it up is it's like Iron Man Predator armor. So it's like chances are Arnold really wouldn't have had it done too much.
Oh, it would have been like Iron
Yeah.
Man
Iron
wearing
Man
the
suit.
the
Yeah,
thing blue
yeah.
screen.
Yeah, that's the secret.
Then that
ending
requires
to-
a lot of acting with his face, though.
Yeah.
But it's horrible to see him do the video game. It's like, dude, you should have just done this in a movie. And I know he's getting old. It's probably really easier just to sell his likeness rather than do this stuff. So I don't know, man. I'll go down some geek like rabbit
hole.
here.
That's how you found us.
Yes.
These losers might let me talk to them. So here's an art question from you from Justin. When does taking inspiration from an artist for you or for your own art style become plagiarizing? I guess
Oh,
that's something that a lot of
so
people have.
no, there's a big theory in this. So it's no secret. I went to the Joe Kubert Art School, and I was lucky enough to have Joe Kubert as a teacher. And Joe Kubert
Wow.
himself had an assignment he made everybody do, and that would be find a pro artist, do 3 pages, and you have to mimic everything about them for one assignment. Like you literally. So I oddly enough, for some reason, I picked Jay Lee, which I at the time I was really I thought Jay Lee was very coming on the scene. I liked his tone. I don't know if you remember the Grant Morrison 4 run he did, the
Hmm.
Fantastic Four. So I thought Jay Lee was really coming because I was a fan of Jay Lee earlier on, which he drew completely different. If anybody remembers his Extreme Studio days, like he would do Chapel or something like that, and he was very
Hellstorm, right?
Hellstorm. There was a lot of things, but he had very exaggerated anatomy, and all of a sudden Jay Lee was now dialing it back where it was more proportionate, shady, moody. I drew nothing like it, so I picked him, and it was like I know this is weird, but it's kind of like a kid says he wants to smoke, which I don't smoke, so I don't know anything about it. But a kid wants to smoke, and you like make him smoke a whole carton of cigarettes till he gets sick or something, and then like he doesn't want to smoke again. Like it's really weird. But the point of this assignment was, I'm just telling you the effects of the assignment. But the point of the assignment, a lot of art schools do this, is that you're not supposed to be copying something, but you're supposed to, in the progress of doing it, learn some things that maybe you weren't paying, and make you pay, force you to mimic something to the point you pay super attention to every nick and turn of every line. So, of course, I don't draw anything like that now, but it's a lot of schools will make you mimic a Picasso painting or something like that. I mean, it's a very common practice, but this started with probably like going back to Michelangelo and stuff like this. This is a very Renaissance basis type of learning. And you're supposed to come away learning some techniques and reinventing some of your own. Artists that still do that later on in their career, there I've been a big comic fan, so I'm not gonna name names, but well, I am just first. It's gonna make it a lot easier. Robert, I think his name was Robert Cruz. Remember, like him trying to draw a lot like Joe Madureira when Joe Madureira.
Roger Cruz.
Roger Cruz. Okay, see, he
Yeah,
knew.
so much so that Joe Madureira, in an issue of Uncanny X-Men, in the background, or no, it was a newspaper. One of the characters was a newspaper, and the heading was "Cruz swipes again," and it's
Yeah,
pretty much
so
calling out Roger Cruz for swiping his style.
that can happen for two reasons. And none of them are good. One, the artist is just ripping somebody off that's popular, and maybe that artist is either doing his own thing like Battle Chasers or moving on to bigger things, and they're just the market makes it big. There's a more of a demand for, say, Ed McGuinness or Jim Lee or whoever you want to pick at the time. There's more of a demand than that artist can fill. And comics is a medium where if something holds, whether it's through any facet of comics, people want to imitate it.
Hmm.
For quick success, easy quick success, right? So that can either come from the artist, it can come from the publisher, and I'm going to say editor, but let's say those are the two of the same things. And neither one of those is good because depending on, and I'll bring this up. If you travel much, you'll understand currency changes and stuff, but that can also be brought upon by maybe Cruz was cheaper than Joe Matt. Maybe an editor actually wanted him to do that more.
Hmm.
You don't know. That's the
Speed.
weird thing.
Speed's
Speed,
another factor, right?
yeah, speed. Well, that's why I related that to the demand. Like there's a
Yeah.
demand for it that the artist can't fill, whether that's speed or what. I remember when Ed McGuinness was on the Superman stuff, right? It
Yeah.
went crazy. And then that became kind of like what they wanted a lot of the Superman art to look like. Even if it didn't look like Ed McGuinness, they were still trying to hit that ballpark. But
Yeah.
Ed McGuinness, and I follow Ed McGuinness. I think Ed McGuinness is a terrific artist on all his Marvel stuff. But it's odd when he was at DC, they did like all these lines of toys of Ed McGuinness stuff, and it was
Yeah.
just like people really loved Ed McGuinness on DC characters, even if he barely touched them. Like,
Right.
here's a toy. I'm not so sure, and I follow all Ed McGuinness stuff. I've never seen that same desire for his. Like, I don't know if Marvel fans reacted like DC fans did to Ed McGuinness. Like, I
I mean,
think he does really well. I love his Red Hulk stuff and everything, and people love that. But I don't think people chase Ed McGuinness exactly fans like they did on Superman, and
I think
Batman.
I
I
think it
wonder
has to do
how.
with his style, right? Sorry, Dan.
I,
Go ahead.
Well,
it could be.
I wonder how much of that though is just where it's harder to gauge with Marvel because Marvel didn't have kind of that in-house toy line that could say we're
Pump it
doing
out.
we're doing an Ed McGuinness Lex Luthor, where Marvel has been, where Hasbro's been doing their toys for so long, and they don't do a lot of direct diamond, based stuff, and just can't hit that as easily.
But I'm gonna hit that. That's exactly right, because a lot of that stuff was done in house at DC. Now, but with the toys and stuff, and maybe Marvel, they don't really do that too much. But what's interesting with and I think Ed McGuinness is a bad example. I think Joe Madureira and Cruz are the better example of this. But so either way, and it's also could be the artist. It's a quick way to get into the industry because and you're showing samples to an editor and you
Mhm.
look like somebody else, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I know Joe Mad sells, so of course this will work, like, and it's just an easy hire. Like, because getting into the industry, a lot of it's just the confidence that they can sell your stuff. There used to a lot be like that. The other thing is, like, I'm not sure. Either way, when an artist does that, and I know what happens, it can be either the artist is consciously doing it or he's being egged on to do it too. When you see somebody do it for a lengthy amount of time, there was another artist that did that quite a bit. I think his name was Adrian Sioff. Looked a lot like Andy Kubert a lot, and like, I didn't understand that. Like, I think even somebody mentioned it to me, like in the office or something. Like, it was just known that, like, I'm pretty sure high up at DC had even referred to him as that. And I'm not knocking Adrian's work at all, but like, I just find that weird when on a publisher knows it. I don't really know if I blame the artist as much because you never know if they're being asked to do it,
Mhm.
I could
like
see that.
in an indirect way. Like, they may indirectly say, well, we can only get so much out of Shane Davis, so how about you draw a little bit more like Shane Davis or something like that. Like, I mean, I mean, there's so many ways. I mean, because you maybe won't directly ask them, but you keep rewarding them with work for doing it, and maybe even complimenting them more. I know when you brought up Mysteries in Space before with me, I know that was asked on the fill-in artist Ron Lim to kind of try to shadow more like me to make it match.
Hmm.
So I know there's different levels of an editor asking an artist to do that. I've never been in a situation where I've been asked to do that. I have early on in my career though had to. It's funny. I had to shave some Jim Lee Batman stuff,
Oh,
like literally shave. If you ever see like uh, because there's DC licensing, right?
Yeah.
Which I used to work for, but they'll say sometimes they'll buy an image from me. They have the rights to it from a comic, but then they have to repurpose that image to go onto a T-shirt. So sometimes maybe, let's say if I drew Batman from the waist up and they really love that Batman, then all of
hmm.
a sudden they need to get me or another artist, which I've had other artists draw like legs for a Batman of mine. And as weird as that is, as odd as I've had people draw legs for a Batman of mine rather than them ask me to draw the legs, I've had to then draw stuff like that on somebody like Jim Lee or somebody's stuff at DC. And that's just for product licensing. It's another department. They'll say, we have this half of Batman, we need the other half. And it was weird because they took a lot of Jim Lee's All-Star Batman and Robin stuff, right?
Hmm.
And he was always running through the rain. But I don't know if you remember, but he was always stubbly. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay. So if you ever, I saw this at Walmart the other day, and it was like him on a pair of boxers. Like, so it lined up like Batman's running at you, like around the crotch of the boxers too. And he's perfectly shaved. I pointed to my wife, and I was like, I drew that, and she's like, no, that's Jim Lee. I'm like, no, but his mouth and his chin. And the fact the rain's not cutting into his body because Scott Williams had kind of like whited out. So I had to go in and fix all that and then shave Batman. So there's like all these Jim Lee Batmans where like I'm like taking a for a better sense of it. I was just redrawing the mouth to look like Jim's and take the stubble off. And it was they were like, hey, you're waiting on the script from this and we need this done. Do you want to do it? It wasn't like I had to do it. And I was like, that's kind of, I admire Jim Lee a lot, and that's an honor to shave Jim Lee's Batman.
Did you ever tell him that?
That's a euphemism.
No, I didn't. I've talked to Jim, and it's like weird. Because I always get hung up on telling Jim that I need to do Wildcats. So every time I forget to tell him, like, oh, by the way, man, I shaved your Batman. Like, I forget to tell him that. And it's weird, too, because I'll see that Batman pop up everywhere. But it's odd, the things that you see pop up, because I see a Deathstroke I drew and under the hood, an image I drew on one page pop up everywhere. Even in Singapore, it was like in the DC restaurant in Singapore. Because they've licensed out. DC has a chain of restaurants overseas. They're not in America, though. It's really weird. They're like a themed restaurant.
So, Dan, Shane's favorite Decepticon is a Devastator. Who's yours as a toy? Soundwave? We're gonna go
as
Soundwave?
A toy?
Yeah.
No, as a toy, I'll go with Galvatron. All the time.
Really?
All the time?
He looks nothing like.
No, but he looks nothing like the cartoon. But it was But let's be honest. Which other than Soundwave, what of the Transformers toys, especially the Decepticons, looked like the cartoon?
Oh,
Not
you
a
threw the
lot.
Decepticon wrench in there.
But
yeah, you're right. Not too many. They actually.
I mean, Soundwave and the tapes. That's
I'm
about
gonna
it.
go with Predaking. Predaking is my favorite Decepticon.
That's
He's
a beast.
freaking
Really?
awesome.
That's a
Dude,
beast.
he's awesome. I know
Yeah.
you and I differ because I know you never liked. I think you had a problem with his head sculpt, or maybe it's that false memory implants.
The problem was that I never had Predaking, so I don't, so I of course, am going to find problems with him. But for some reason in my head, whenever I think of Predaking's toy head, like it's like an orange California raisin, and I just can't get past that idea. I know that's not true. Looking at the pictures,
not true at all. Like at all.
But yeah, that was the Predacons were always outside of my grasp. I never had any of them.
So what is it about Galvatron that you like? He makes funny sounds?
Well, I mean, that was one part of it. I mean, Galvatron got played with long after I stopped playing with Transformers because he turned into a gun that I could shoot people with, and it made cool gun noises. But I really enjoyed that toy. I mean, it's my original Galvatron is stepping out of frame. Let's see. Here we go. Pay no attention to those bashes and cracks. But
oh, okay.
So
there he is.
Yeah, this is my original Galvatron. Now I've re-stickered him, but it's in good shape.
Did you ever think about getting the re-release that has the color more like
the purple one? I thought about it, but at the time when it came out, I didn't have the money to get it, and since then, it's like, well, why would I get a recolored G1 when I can get new figures that look more like Galvatron to begin with? And if I want to go that route.
Does he still light up?
If he had batteries, he would.
Take him out of your.
What batteries did he take? Was it?
I think it's a 9-volt.
Yeah. See, I had Shockwave, and he had a 9-volt battery.
Oh, yeah, man.
Galvatron.
Get that out of your smoke detector. You don't need that.
Shockwave was the one that I always wanted as a kid and had. I don't have a G1 Shockwave. That is on my list of things, but they're so hard to find in good shape because that hose rots out and the leg,
Yeah.
the legs don't hold up. So
And they
I've kind
never
of written that off,
reissued him
but
either, did they?
no, they
Well,
haven't.
he's a weird figure. If I remember right, they didn't make him. They bought him. That's why there's like he was something else, like a
Yeah.
robot
Yeah,
man
he's
or
one of those. I don't think he was Toy Box. I can't remember what
Just
he
remember
was in
the
an entirely separate line from everything else.
that's why he was so different too in scale. I
Yeah.
just remember Radio Shack. Was Radio Shack that had an
Mm-hmm.
exclusive to the black Shockwave? Was that
Gray.
it? Gray Shockwave, that's right.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. The Astro Magnum.
yeah, yeah.
Man, but that
Lori had that one as a kid.
your wife, is that why you
My
married
wife,
her?
yeah.
You
No, she
like-
didn't still have it, obviously, because if she did, it would be on the shelf. But
Man, you know what?
yeah.
I'm looking at my shelf right now and I don't have him either.
Well,
Damn,
there
that's
you
so
go.
weird. Now we got to go hunt for these things when stores open back up.
Mm.
Or I guess I could go to eBay, but
Well,
that's no fun.
the thing about Shockwave though is that his toy more than Soundwave even was so close to the representation on screen
Yeah,
um, that really like the modern toys don't look a huge amount different than like the Siege Shockwave looks a lot like the original Shockwave. It's just
yeah.
basically all plastic and more designed to fit slightly changed to fit more of the Transformers aesthetic. But
I had to get
man,
mine.
that's
That
all right.
the hunt never truly ends. You said it, Jordan.
Here, for that matter.
And man, what is this? Is it? Oh, this is one of the
That's the new
Super
reaction
7.
one.
Yeah.
gray shockwaves for the Sentry robots on Cybertron.
I don't like the reaction figures, but those I'm gonna have to get. Like because those sculpts look nice. Like
They look like the Action Masters.
yeah.
Yeah, the sculpts are nice, but I got them for the card art as much as anything, because I mean, just that card art is gorgeous.
I love Super 7, but I refuse to buy those because I know that's their selling point is the card art and not the figures.
I know.
So like I have like the masterpiece Shockwave, like so I had to get this, but I have the original one. I have the original one put up in storage, but he's in bad condition. Like you said, I didn't even get him as a kid. Like I got him like from a yard sale, and it was he would still make the sound with the battery though, but like you said, the hose rotted out, and the legs are really like I don't know loose. They don't like the ratchets like or whatever from the transforming. Like they wear out. He wasn't all metal though. A lot of him was plastic. Like he had like metal legs, and the core was metal, but everything else was like plastic. It was a bad mix of. I think the weight of the thighs versus everything.
Yeah, it collapsed straight down.
Yeah.
It's interesting how the color of the masterpiece is so bright of Shockwave compared to the other versions. Because I'm used to like now they've been issuing the masterpieces with cartoon accurate colors.
Well, that was when they first started moving that way with the masterpiece line.
With
was right around
Shockwave?
that. Yeah, it was right around the time they did Shockwave. That was
'Cause I
the
feel
first
like-
one that was more cartoon. Well, I mean, they released both. They did the original Shockwave is the light purple one.
It's the one I
that
have.
is more like the cartoon, and then they later on released a darker purple one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yours looks maybe because it's inside of the case. Mine looks lighter than that. So I think they went with the darker purple one because that one probably resembles the cartoon more than the lighter purple one. So I thought it was interesting that they went backwards with it almost. But he is a great figure.
Yeah.
That's the one I have.
Yeah. He like for the masterpiece. Like I think him and Megatron are like my two favorites. Which it's weird because they're like polar opposites as far as colors go and everything.
Yeah.
course, I had the Toys R Us Soundwave, the Masterpiece exclusive they had
with
for getting
all
got
with
on
all
the
the
cassettes.
cassettes. Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah. Those were hard to find. I was hunting for that at my Toys R Us, and I go in and this really cute chick at Toys R Us is like, "Oh yeah, we don't have it. I know what you're talking about." And I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "All right, thanks." And I'll walk out. And she's like, "Oh, you ever go to TFW 2005?" I'm like, "What?" That's the first time I ever heard about the site, and I did. That was a weird thing where like a cute chick knew more about geek stuff
We're-
than I did, and I didn't know how to handle it. Like it was like, wait, are you? I thought because it was like that's a ridiculous name for a website. I made her repeat it 4 or 5 times, and I'm like, I think you're pulling my leg. And then I never saw this girl again, so it was probably like a ghost. Like she was probably like a
Right.
ghost or
She
something.
didn't
And
actually
Toys R
exist.
Us.
It was the
Yeah,
ghost
yeah,
of
she
collectors
wasn't-
past.
Yeah.
she just works for TFW 2005.
That's right.
But what was weird is I looked at I searched around online and I found a bunch of them, and they were all in like Toys R Us in Times Square of all places. So I had to go all the way into New York City to get this thing. They were just sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, this thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, everybody sold out this thing." But for some reason, in Times Square, the busiest, most congested place in the world of people, there's like 8 of them. Like I had to pay a little bit more for it because everything's marked up. That was an awesome Toys R Us store. I don't know if you've ever seen videos of it online or ever.
Oh yeah,
been.
that one was great. The
That giant T-Rex, right? You remember the T-Rex? So there was like some kid screaming his head off, and the mother was laughing, and it's like, don't do that. Like the kid's like gonna have issues.
the FAO Schwartz in Times Square.
Was awesome.
The last time I was there was last March or April. I was there taking depositions, and I got there a day early to do a little touristy stuff, and they had like a giant Optimus Prime in in there. It was and it was like G1 style Optimus Prime, not movie Optimus Prime, and they had a ton of what was it? It was Predaking. They had a ton of Power of the Primes Predaking that was not a general release figure really, and it was neat to see. I've seen lately. Speaking of Toys R Us, there's a account I just started following on Instagram that posts pictures
What's
of
up,
like
Lionheart?
the Malaysian
going on?
Toys R Us's of all the and the like. I didn't realize how much I had missed dedicated themed shelves for
Right.
Transformers or Star Wars or all that until I saw those pictures of current Toys R Us's overseas, and I was like, oh man.
So this last year, I was in Singapore, and then I went to Bangkok and Thailand, and it's so weird after watching Toys R Us like crumble in America, right? So or just just go up under whatever you want to call it and shut down. Like I go there, and of course there's a Toys R Us, so I have to go there and take pictures, and everybody thought I was pulling their leg, right? And I go to Bangkok, which is Bangkok's very populated city, but it's kind of, in my opinion, kind of third world, right? It's very poor, very populated. Their infrastructure is really messed up as far as like wiring on like utility poles and stuff. Like I walked up under like 20 electrical wires over a walkway, and it's like there's no way nobody 1 foot taller is never just like fried. like how is this even possible? I've seen them use trees, like low hanging trees, to hang like power lines, like really weird stuff. And for some reason in their mall, in their food court, they had a Toys R Us, which nobody could afford to go into in Thailand. It must have been for any type of tourist or anything. They had the biggest Ultraman like selection ever, and I was just like, it just drove me crazy. I mean, bigger than in Singapore, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, I don't, like toys in another country, like they had all the knockoff toys, like you buy Spider-Man and Batman in the same 5-pack of action figures, and it looks like the Batman 1980s.
The
Batman
action hero sets.
Yeah.
And those toys to me are cooler, than the real genuine stuff in a weird way, just because they're kind of dopey, cool, and there's just something about them. But like it was just so strange to see Toys R Us like everywhere but in America. Like it's I don't understand. That whole thing had something to do with like a investors running it down
Yeah,
or something.
venture capital bought it and forced it to take on a bunch of debt to pay off the purchase price, and then they just couldn't
So
pay.
what?
They could never get out of that hole from the debt.
Because recently filling out my, you know how they've been doing the reissues, the Walmart reissues. Hasbro
Mhm.
Pulse had the cassette tapes that were exclusive there, and I had ordered them from Hasbro Pulse, but then they canceled my order, and I thought it was a credit card issue or something. But it turned out they became Amazon Prime exclusives, but in
Oh, really?
Canada. So I had to get a fan from Canada to order them for me, just to mail them to me, just so I could finish off my collection of the G1 reissues. And it
Huh.
was just weird.
Oh,
Like there's that, and he was showing me like, you know, how they had the carbonized Mandalorian figure at Target, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no, all those are over here in Toys R Us in Canada.
mm.
So it's like all these Toys R Us's everywhere else, they have it. It's so weird.
I
You
remember
know?
when I was
Road
collecting
trip.
heavily into amiibos, the Nintendo amiibos, the little
Yeah, yeah,
statues,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So some of them here in America were exclusive to Target, exclusive to Toys R Us, exclusive to Best Buy. I promise I'll get to this question here in a second. N-Man 40, it's for Dan. But one of the things, I was working in Canada. I was in Toronto, and I went to the Toys R Us there, and they were all there. So even though they're exclusive to these different places here in America, in
Yeah.
Canada, they were just everywhere, and I'm like, awesome! I don't have to go and bullshit around in anybody's line.
Yeah.
So,
That
Dan, what
that
are your thoughts on the Predaking Power of the Primes?
All right. I'll preface this by saying I don't own it, and the reason I don't own it is I don't really like it. But the fact that I don't own it, so take it all with a grain of salt. But like, I've been buying all the Titan figures as they come out. I deeply regret not getting Metroplex. Um, but for whatever reason, looking at that, I had the G1 Predaking as an adult. I got one of the reissues for a while, and I held on to it for about a year, and then I sold it because it just didn't do anything for me.
How dare
But
you?
oh, I know, we've had that conversation before.
Yeah.
But the thing about Predaking is that he's beefy. You know, like he was always, of all the G1 combiners, he was the one that was like, you really felt like, damn, that's a big ass robot. Even if he's not any taller than the other combiners, where all of the figures were larger figures, it had more heft. And looking at the Power of the Primes one, he's tall, but he's so blocky. It just the it just didn't strike me as being Predaking to me, because Predaking to me is more of a rounded, like thick character, and it just struck me as off, and I didn't like it, so I didn't get it.
So there you have it. What about Action Masters, Transformers that don't transform? Every one
Woo!
of my Transformers are Action Masters, because if you've been watching my show or have been friends of mine for a long time, I don't like transforming these damn things. I'm too old. Like I told Dan, I was like,
Ooh.
I would hire somebody to come to my house and transform them if they're in vehicle mode. Just I'm so tired of transforming them. I know Dan loves them. Like I don't know. How do you feel about them, Shane? Do you like the robot mode, or you keep them in car mode? Do you keep them in boxes? Like how do you display them?
usually all in robot mode, but
That's
I've
right.
I got like
Unless you're Ratchet or Ironhide G1, those are always in vehicle mode.
yeah.
Because they'll stay in vehicle mode. I
Yeah.
don't. There is no robot mode for those two.
Yeah, there are some of my G1s that stay in vehicle mode because, like, you can hide the
Whoa.
fact that they're missing stuff.
My wife sells toys, so she had ordered this from Entertainment Earth. This is the
Wow.
3-0. This
Yeah.
is that Optimus DLX. This thing is a lot heavier than you thought. So I, not because of this video or anything, just on my own, I had gotten him, and I was like, I wonder if I can get that. That you got the touch moment from the Transformers movie where he's kind of jumping with
Yeah.
his
Yep.
knee up. which they actually, if you look it up, they actually tried to. There's a still frame from the Bumblebee movie. I'm sorry, I'm not used to the webcam. There's a still frame where he's actually jumping down, kind of like that, and even the movie couldn't get it. So, but still, I thought this was impressive that I could get him twisted and moved in this pose. He even has like an ab crunch. Like these things, even though this doesn't transform as a toy, like it basically, he has like a spine where he can move back and stuff. I'm not.
Oh, that's awesome.
Try it because he's on the base, but see, like I'm able to bend him up and then bend him back. So this was like a super, and his eyes light up. And this is it. They just now said they were doing like the huge one of this, like the whatever. This is a 1/12 scale. I guess they're doing a 1/6 scale.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I was just like, that's crazy. I'm not even messing with anything that big because my cases can't take anything bigger than this. Like
Infinity Nexus reviews the same.
That's like really heavy. Like it's no joke. Like you can get a lot of bend out of it too. Like it's pretty big.
Oh, man, I thought you just dropped it. Damn it, Shane.
No. I took it. The only weird thing is the base kind of plugs into his butt. That's like the only weird thing.
Hey, I mean, where else are you gonna go? You don't have many options back there.
So it's like an Optimus.
Damn, he is awesome.
So it's not too well. It's big, but it was surprising. This thing's like really heavy. Like it basically has a metal skeleton. If you look at how they produced it and how it's so posable, is there's like a metal like exoskeleton, then they build on top of it. But it's weird when you do his hands. The fingers don't move or anything. They're kind of froze, but they're ball jointed. So
Rock Lord's GoBots are better than Transformers.
Dude,
what?
I had the Rock Lord with the two heads.
That's the one I had, the green one.
Yeah,
I had that one. Man, that
Rock Lords were the
thing
shit.
is awesome, dude.
I don't think people know what they're talking about whenever they try to. GoBots were kind of horrible though. I'm not gonna.
I don't think we're gonna see any masterpiece Rock Lords for a long time though.
For a long time.
I don't know. We saw Masterpiece GoBots.
Psykill, right?
Yeah.
Just one?
Masterpiece-ish. No, they did 4 or 5 of them.
What?
The new Action Robo line. It's
I really
been a little
thought
bit
they-
since I've
they
heard
only
anything
did-
about it.
they
No,
only
they
did
did Leader
Psykill.
1. They did
That's right, they
Psykill
did
Leader 1, and they did I want to say they
Coptor?
did Turbo and Coptor both, and then maybe the space shuttle guy whose name I don't remember. Yeah, they did a number of them, and I entertained buying them, and I was like, that's outside the rules.
What's up, Kenny? Go ahead, Shane.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna read this question.
Were they cheap? How does anybody remember the price point of those things?
I don't know.
They were about
I'm
50 to
curious now.
60 bucks.
Yeah, that sounds
No,
right.
no.
They were
I'm
not
talking about the
inexpensive.
originals.
Oh, the
I'm
original.
I wonder how I kept
they were-
getting them.
I played
I
with
would get
Corn
them for
Husk,
Christmas.
so I don't know.
So I think they were in America. I think they were like the cheap Transformer.
Yeah, they were about, if I'm remembering right, they were as much as GI Joe. So they would have been $2 to $4 depending on when.
The size.
Yeah.
My grandmother would buy the hell out of GoBots for me, and I was like, I don't want these, and it was just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't trying to be a brat. It's just I didn't like the cartoon. I didn't like the
people.
cartoon. I didn't like the cartoon. Go ahead to the question, though.
I have to retell the story. I've told it before on the show, but I was not allowed to have GoBots because my mom heard the commercials, and to her it sounded like the jingle when they said "Mighty Robots." She heard "Mighty Robots, buy these GoBots," and apparently in a commercial, directly being told to buy something was wrong. So I was not allowed to have them because she thought that was too far. Or maybe
Nobody tells me what to do.
Maybe it was in the maybe it wasn't the commercial. Maybe it was the cartoon theme song. But it just hit her the wrong way. So I never had like more than a handful of birthday present GoBots.
So why do you think, this is from Kenny, the newer Transformer cartoons are not as iconic as the classic 80s and 90s ones were? Why do we think that? I guess a lot of it has to do with I'm not a kid anymore, and it's hard to. I think there's a difference, right? Like when cartoons come out now, at least with Transformers, because what's the new Transformers cartoon? Is it a Netflix exclusive?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Netflix, 6
So
episodes.
okay, so I think about that, right? Compared to waiting every week for a new episode at a specific time in front of the television and not having this let's watch all 6 episodes of Transformers right now whenever I want to. Like the convenience factor of Netflix, which has become almost like a blockbuster at home, where you have all these
Yeah,
choices to make.
it's just different.
So I think there's a little bit of special. Like I guess that's why people also collect vinyl records, right? There's something special about doing it the hard way, of putting a record inside of a record player and flipping it instead of listening to digital music. There was something special about just waiting for a new episode of Transformers to drop. I was a kid, even watching cartoons now with my kids. I mean, I can think of some that are pretty iconic, but Transformers to me never really past Beast Wars. Well, though animated had its moments.
Well, but I mean, the thing is, though, there was a special golden era, taking apart all the fact of like that's my childhood and everything. There was a special golden era from like 83 to 89 of television cartoons to sell toys, where starting with He-Man and going through like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Where it was just like hit after hit after hit, and they would last for 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years, but they would just have their this is it. I mean, for all of elementary school, as far as I'm concerned, it was GI Joe at 3 or at 4 and Transformers at 4:30,
Yeah.
and like
Or in the
it was
morning
just
before you go to school. It would
yeah,
sometimes be on
yeah.
that.
And I'd watch Silverhawks and I'd watch Brave Star and I'd watch this, that, and the other. But they would have like limited cartoon lines, and there was the times where the cartoon and toy line struck gold like that of He-Man, Transformers, GI Joe, Turtles.
Yeah.
Were pretty few and far between. But I think it was as much just the nature of that market and the broadcast television as anything else. And that dovetails into what you're saying, Omar. We're just now you just don't have that captive audience where if the TV's on, it's going to be on one of these channels and you're going to get exposed to it. And there is plenty of product to fill the demand.
Yeah.
See, I have a different opinion on that. I didn't.
What do you
mean
got,
to
Shane?
Go ahead.
No.
What were you? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was coughing.
Oh, I want to make sure you don't die. No.
I'm good, man.
Okay, so I've written a couple of comics, a couple of one shots, and a mini series. Image. So what's interesting looking back at that, and this is in hindsight, is very few of those shows. 90% of those shows operated on a season finale, an intro that was a few episodes tied together, but a lot of them were like one and done stories.
Mhm.
And I think that felt like it had more substance in a weird way. And rather than say like if they do a new series today and maybe it's 22 episodes and it's a continuity based Transformers series,
Right.
those one and done episodes, there was a lot of and I think a lot of that, because it's weird. I'm gonna sum this up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at my class at school. I was stuck home. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where I was, came on while everybody was still at school for some reason. It came on after The Price is Right or something. And the only reason I was able to see it that week is because I had chicken pox. So I came back from chicken pox telling everybody in school about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it comes on at this time." And they're like, "Well, I've never seen it. I was stuck on the bus." Like they were literally somehow the time slot was like all the kids are on the bus. So how are they going to see this, right? So I was like, it's the greatest thing ever. And of course, the Archie comic came out, and I went and got it right away. And I was first on it. I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world, But what's interesting is I saw like the first 4 episodes that kind of told you their origin. But after that, a lot of episodes were like one and done, and they get kind of hokey.
Yeah.
But if you look at Transformers, what they were able to do with the one and done episodes is give you a Red Alert episode where he freaks out, you know.
Right.
They were able to give you
The spotlight episodes.
yeah, but even like sometimes the spotlight episodes, but sometimes the quirky episode where like they go to the lagoon and they're in gold and they're impervious. Like so you're
Power Glide, yeah.
Yeah. You're
Or no-
able to do all those. Well, not just the
Beachcomber,
characters,
Beachcomber.
Beachcomber, you're able to
Yeah.
have those one and done episodes. I mean, I don't even think that's a Beachcomber episode as much as it was like a cool like we're gold and blast are coming off of this episode. I mean, I know that was a Beachcomber episode, but still, it's weird. Those one and done episodes, I think they were navigating. They were able to maximize Transformers that way. But because those episodes were a lot of one and dones, maybe 2-part episodes with a cliffhanger. I think there was like a Devastator 2-part episode, or maybe a what was the
Bruticus.
Stunticons. Yeah. So those were like multiple episodes, or maybe the Insecticons were another 2-parter. I think I know the Dinobots was a 2-parter.
Yeah, they had a 2-parter.
But a lot of those, so like. I kind of feel like that was a lot of story editing magic. Like they were a product. That was the way TV was done. Like a sitcom was done. It was always a 1-episode story, one and done, maybe a 2-parter. That's the TV rules. But somehow those TV rules really worked when you had such a large cast of characters and you're trying to sell them as toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any Transformers show really operates like that today. I think every time they go for a Transformer show, and even the Netflix one, well, if you like that, it'll have a more of a long form story structure to it. And nothing against the Transformer stuff, but it never was really built that way. You know, maybe the first how many? The first part was it 4-part, 2-part, 3-part? The
3?
first 3, yeah.
The Mona Meets the Eye.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of more like when you see stuff like that, I'm like, well, were they even planning to do more? You know, or were they just testing the waters?
I think they were testing the waters, exactly. It's interesting because when you go back, like I know I did just a couple of years ago, I was trying to rewatch some of these episodes of Transformers with my daughters. Like, yeah, I remember the iconic episodes, like where the aerial bots travel back in time. But then every once in a while, you get stuck with episodes like, I don't know, Hoist Goes to
Hollywood.
or the girl that loves Power Glide, or Bot. How do you Bot was the season ender before the movie? I remember like when I finally got the DVDs, right? I was so excited. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to watch these in chronological order. Everything is going to lead up to the movie. Bot leads up to the movie.
But then there's also those opposite of Bot. Then there's like that Ninja Girl episode.
Oh, Nightbird.
Yeah. That was an awesome episode. Like for what it's worth, wasn't there like one episode where they were like maybe it was Generation 2 or something? There was an episode where it was like almost had like a Cobra Commander. In
yeah.
World thing.
Yeah.
Like,
damn, what was the name of the episode?
Like Only Human, I think.
Yeah, it turns out that it was Cobra Commander at the end. And did they ever make little toys of the? It was exclusives, right? Like of the human Ultra Magnus, Rodimus.
Yeah, I want to say they did it as a BotCon exclusive, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
The other factor in that, and this piggybacks on what you were saying, Shane, is that post G1, with the exception of Transformers Animated, everything has been either CG or computer cell shaded, etc. But all of that restricts the number of characters you can economically have in the series, and I think that plays into what you're saying, where you don't get the here all of a sudden there are a whole bunch of new robots, but here's an episode about why this guy, Red Alert, is just crazy. And you don't really get, and that was one of the, Transformers Animated is probably my favorite Transformers series, because it kind of got back to that idea of like, here's an episode about Swindle. Here's an episode about, Wreck-Gar. And and I really enjoyed that aspect of that, and you know, and it's like I liked Transformers Prime when it came out, but it was kind of the opposite of that. Of like here it was kind of back to the Beast Wars model, which is not a bad thing, but of here are our 5 characters, and we're going to
Right.
tell you a story with our 5 characters. And we're going to tell you a lot of stories with our 5 characters, and that's not a bad thing. But I think it doesn't give as much opportunity for you to say, this is a big world with a
But-
lot of different things going on.
Oh,
But what's
sorry,
weird
I
about
got
that?
excited.
Oh, go ahead.
Flint's daughter is in the 3rd season of Transformers.
Yeah,
Oh, what was her name? She had a
Marissa
cool
Fairborn.
name. Marissa Fairborn. Also in the comics.
The
But what's
October
weird
Guard
that-
is also in one of those episodes too.
A lot of that stuff, though, and this goes with He-Man too. A lot of that was recycling. Like
Mhm.
they had the one toy. How do I maximize this one toy into 3 characters? Hence Prowl, Smokescreen.
Oh, yeah.
And, but the Seekers, stuff like that, and that was the whole. I don't know. There was an interesting documentary somewhere, but that was the whole He-Man thing. Is just how can we reuse these 5 parts to make a line of toys?
Yeah.
Flint is in the
it's-
episode The Killing Jar. Love
Yeah.
your love
The,
your icon there, Saturday morning fan.
There's a great story I was reading somewhere about how, like, especially the later GI Joes, if you just go through and look at like all the different cobbled together parts from previous characters, which, and it's funny, we said very early on, talking about how the post movie toys were not as good, but in a
Craptacular,
lot of
except
ways,
for Predaking.
well, hang on.
except for Predaking.
Triptychon's cool too.
That's when they started designing Transformers as Transformers, as opposed to pulling them in from other toy series and repurposing the same robot for different roles. So it's kind of neat to look at how the line evolved over time that way.
I think there was a lot of creative thinking, and that goes back to the whole Denny O'Neil, Optimus Prime, somebody passing a box of toys around saying, how can we make something out of this?
Mhm.
Yeah.
How can we make this bad? Because wasn't originally the Diaclone of Optimus not even a good guy?
They weren't gonna use him as a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you read some of those bios on some of the old packages, like they're kind of weird. Like there was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that didn't even sound like a good guy. Like I was like, I don't know if it was Mirages or whatever. Like Sideswipe is nearly the equal of his twin brother, Blooded. Relishes a fight to the finish with an opponent. Uses underhanded tactics when absolutely necessary. That doesn't sound heroic at all, and it doesn't sound like the character in the show at all.
Well, that's I was thinking about that, or maybe I read something somewhere, but talking about how a lot of us have a soft spot for Sideswipe, and Sideswipe didn't do jack shit in the cartoon or the comic. Like he was in that one episode where he and Sunstreaker did some jet judo, and that was about it. Like that was his big
dude.
thing.
His thing is he's a Lamborghini. That's his thing.
No, that's exactly right.
And oddly enough, they actually do make reference to it. It says he uses underhanded tactics when absolutely necessary. Arms act as powerful pile drivers. Flies for up to 2 minutes with a rocket backpack. I remember in those first few episodes, more than meets the eye. Like he takes off his backpack and I think gives to Optimus.
Yeah.
And that's when he flies.
Yeah.
So evidently.
And then they never talk about that again.
Yeah, but
Well, but
evidently that was written for that movie, or whatever.
The funny story there, though, is that the consensus now is that the bios for Sunstreaker and Sideswipe were flipped. Sunstreaker has the exhaust stuff on his back.
Oh yeah,
right,
and that was that jetpack. Those the wrist attach, or not the alternate fists that are just those were the pile drivers. So it's I love seeing that kind of stuff too, where it's like somebody made a mistake somewhere along the line, and it shaped 40 years worth of fiction.
Yeah.
Remember in season 1 when Optimus wants to kill the Dinobots simply because they are stupid? They were out of control, and they honestly, they weren't
Were they breaking
alive.
shit,
they
though?
weren't alive either, though.
I mean,
So
guys, I got rid of my Roomba because it just quit vacuuming very well. I mean,
But weren't they breaking stuff in like the Ark, and they were like, "Oh, we can't have this. Like you can't."
yeah, let's
have
seal them away forever.
Yeah, let's.
look at this. This is from Saturday Morning Fan. Inhumanoids was on a news clip in Gym. Dinobot Island was in G.I. Joe. That's right. One of the heroes from Cops is tied to Ace from G.I. Joe. And we later find out Mask is part of the G.I. Joe and Venom was Cobra. Holy shit. IDW was writing these stories back then. Because that's everything that what Revolution and all those crossovers are.
The other
Oh, JMS wrote a lot of these too, right?
Yeah, no, he. Well,
I know he did Ghostbusters. He did He-Man. He did
Jason World Warriors. He believes if anybody remembers. But
Kick-Ass intro. Yeah,
Yeah.
Inhumans are humanoids. Inhumanoids. What the hell was the other one?
Yeah.
Centurions. Right? Yeah.
That's
Max
with the
Steel's
holograms.
RoboForce.
Is that the
No, that's the
that was Visionaries.
Visionaries. Knights of the Magical. Oh man, all these intro songs. Now y'all got me to look up videos, and I gotta go and pack here in a few minutes.
Jason Willed Warriors was not a good show.
But it had a kick-ass
awesome.
intro.
But those toys were cool.
Yes, they were.
Like, I love those toys. And the whole idea that the good guys had pilots and the bad guys had brains. It was like, what's going on here? I don't
Are you putting them all in the Tommyverse, the Mind of the Kid in Hill Street Blues? I think it's the Mind of the Kid in Saint Elsewhere. That's what you mean. That's the Tommyverse. None of my childhood was real shit.
I was talking to my wife. She's always like, "Oh, if we have a kid, what do you want to name it?" And I just said it. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyways, what do you want to name it? And I'm like, what do you want to name them? I don't know what they. But it doesn't matter. So I'm like, I want to pick one of these weird names nobody uses anymore, like Jace. Like Jace. That sounds like that.
Jayce.
He'll get a lot of girls. Jace. He'll be like he'll have
That's
a rat
right.
tail, and he'll have a switchblade.
What?
Yeah,
comb,
you can have
like
Jace,
a switchblade comb.
W.W. Davis, and like the W's are just W's. They don't stand for anything, but you know what they stand for.
There's like names like back in the day, like Chad. Like who's Chad? Chad sounds like Zach. Chad.
Those were lead characters in 90s and 80s TV shows.
I know. I had
teen dramas.
We had like 5 Chads in my class, or Chris. I can't remember if it was Chris or Chad. It began.
I had a couple of Chads in our.
And it was always like, "Hey, we're Chris W, Chris J." That's how we would call them in roll call in school. And I'm like, wow, some of these names, it's like they just died with a generation because I've never came across Chris or Chad.
We're starting to sound like old guys. I remember when George Carlin was talking about these things. Like he's like, "Whatever happened to manly names like Eddie?" Like it's George Carlin, right? Oh my God, that was like 20 years ago.
You want to hear something that broke my heart? I saw. I'm sure you've seen it. Somebody posted on Twitter that Danny Glover was 41 when he was saying, "I'm too old for this."
Shut up! Are you serious? In Lethal Weapon 1?
Yes.
He did not age well. Like that's an old 41.
That is an old 41.
Oh my God!
It was like, oh, that breaks my heart.
If you watch Danny Glover in Predator 2, there's lines in that movie you cannot understand what he's saying. Like he like I don't know.
I love Predator 2. It's that's one of my guilty pleasures.
Yeah, the best part of that movie is when the Predator won't kill the girl because she's pregnant. I'm like, dude, that's just
I remember that was so weird.
Cool. And out of nowhere,
dude. And because of Predator 2, Bill Paxton is the only person that has been killed by a Predator, a Terminator, and an alien. So that's why it's also an amazing movie.
Wait, he was killed by a Terminator?
In Terminator 1.
Oh, yeah.
He was the punk, remember? Yeah,
No,
man.
I don't remember that. I don't remember Bill
It's still a
Paxton.
good
See,
flick.
no, but it's weird. The guy that played Bishop was in Terminator 1, and that's why I thought you were pulling my leg or you just mixed
No,
it up.
no,
Because
no.
he
It's
was
Bill
in the
Paxton,
police. He was a cop in the police station. I met that guy at a
the guy that
comic
was in
con.
Millennium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Millennium. He was
yeah.
also in Pumpkinhead. He was Bishop.
That's
All this
right.
stuff.
It's
He
a
had
great
so
actor.
many stories. He's like, yeah, I was in Terminator, and I was like, I didn't know that. And I'm arguing with the guy, like, no, you weren't. I'm like, why am I arguing with Bishop here, like in the green room, on what movies he was and wasn't in? Like, I'm pretty sure he knows what he was and wasn't in.
There you go, man. If you have a girl, you can name her RC.
RC, uh, maybe,
Maybe.
maybe. I was
Zach
thinking
the
about
Lego
that.
Maniac. Yeah. About what?
No, just girl names. Like I was like Rebecca is like one of those names. I'm not sure if that's a popular name, but it was all over in the day. Like Rebecca, we were just coming up with all these names that like they seem to just die in a generation. Like they ran off a cliff and exploded. It's like where are these names?
You're being really dramatic, Shane.
No, you remember
Starscream for King and long live the real Ultra Magnus. What's
the
up,
real
Sledge?
Ultra?
No, there will be a Q&A tomorrow at 11, and then I gotta join OmniDog on his Dennis O'Neill episode, and then I can leave. So I
Well,
won't be getting back any comments. I won't be replying back to comments for a little bit. Lance Hendrickson, thank you so much. I was trying to think of his name. Also died from a Terminator.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Did he
Oh,
get
and Predator and Alien movie. Yeah.
Well, he didn't get killed by an alien though, did he? Because technically he was a android, right? I don't know, man.
No.
It's
In the Predator Alien movie, he's the
he's the
guy,
real Bishop.
No, he's the whatever that company is. What's the name of the company?
I
that
always
they
think of
work for?
Wayland Jennings, but he is a country star, so
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking of actually.
Wayland Jennings.
Begins with a W, but
Yeah, it's waging. Oh my gosh, why did you have to ask? I'm sure somebody in the chat will remember.
I was gonna say Wayne, but I'm like, no, it's not Wayne. But it doesn't matter. But he's literally him, and that was a weird franchise, Alien versus Predator. It's like you want to see it,
Yeah,
you
that
will
was
see
just
it, but
to renew that
Yeah.
IP, man. I am not leaving, just going on vacation. I already got videos up, so they'll be posted on Sunday and Monday, and I'll be back Tuesday. Not vacation, just a weekend getaway.
a weekend getaway.
Wayland,
Tell us.
something.
Wayland.
Utani. That's it. Thank you.
Who's Utah?
Utani. The Wayland Utani. That was the name of the corporation.
Oh,
Not Wayland Jennings, which I know. I think I might have answered that at trivia night one night when I was drunk and I pissed off my team.
I was at a convention in Canada because everything great is in Canada. It was in
True,
Calgary
true.
where they had the whole cast of the first Aliens movie reunited. They
What?
had like a crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird too because Bill Paxton was so cool. You know how they give you the convention announcements? The guy comes on the intercom, so it's like Bill Paxton coming on, talking in character. Like he's like, yeah, we're all dropping like flies, man. You know, like that, like just telling you to go
Yeah.
wherever. It was like he was actually really cool. But they had like Sigourney Weaver come in just for Sunday, so like all the cast was there.
That's
For the
huge,
whole
man.
weekend, but then she would come in for that one day, and of course they had pre-sold all to Wazoo and get a photo op with the entire cast of Aliens. I think everybody, like it was like the entire, even the cat, even Jonesy.
Jonesy,
Was
did you
not
try?
there.
Did you try to get in there?
No, I
Shane, look, man, this is what you do. You have a badge, man. All you got to do is like pretend you know you're supposed to be somewhere, and then people just kind of let you by. Nobody
I
really
know.
questions you.
I
You
have
flash
so-
it. You flash it really quick. Look, Shane Davis.
I
Let me
have
through,
so
please.
many stories with actors and stuff from cons, but I've never, for the most part, because it's really weird. Whenever they do these cons, it's a very much like I remember I met Ron Perlman in the lobby of the hotel. He was just getting off the elevator. I had to run him down and say, "Dude, you know, I loved you as a." You know, I didn't want to make him feel old, but when he was in Beauty and the Beast TV show, you know, as a kid, I just thought he looked so cool. You know, as a kid. I'm telling him, I'm like, I have to get a photo with you, and he acts really weird. He was all cool talking to me up until then. And a lot of these guys, they have like a deal set up with the con where if they're charging for a photo, the con gets, so it gets really weird. And I personally only talk to them like, I don't know, out in Artist Alley. A lot of times I walk by or in the green room. You'd be surprised at people that act super cool. Like I was in Australia. This is a weird tangent, but it goes in with the 80s. But I was in the green room. I was really stressed. Superman Earth 2 was getting ready to come out. I was in Australia at a con, and Theo from The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sits down and he's talking to me. He's like, man, you just need to learn to relax. I'm like, what? I look up and I'm like, he's like, yeah, man, you just got to learn to relax. He's like, you look stressed. And I'm like, well, yeah. And I'm like on another time zone and my hours are all messed up and everything. And I'm looking on my phone to see what people are saying about the book and everything. And he's like, yeah, man, one time I was at this movie. I guess it was the Deep Blue or something. It's like some movie with
Sharks.
No, where they were on a boat and there was like a heist. I think it had the guy from Fast and the Furious that died. He was in it with Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba.
Perfect. Oh, yeah. It's like surfer movie, I think.
Yeah, so he was telling me about this movie. He's like, yeah, man, one time I was stuck here and I had to do all this training for deep water stuff. So I just
Australia's Canada South, so that's also cool.
And it was just weird that this guy from an 80s TV show with life lessons is sitting here giving me a life lesson on how to just relax and enjoy the fact I was in Australia. And I'm like, that's just stuck with me the rest of my life. I don't know why. There's just weird stories of celebrities. It's like there's a lot. Some are really cool and they're just normal people, and then some are like they have paparazzi and they're very much want everybody in the room to know who they are. It's really weird.
Well, it's we can talk about this another night because we got to start wrapping up. But the convention culture is one thing we've talked about on the show, and how much has changed. From really going to go and see comic book creators to, holy crap, I'm spending $100 for a photo op with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's a lot different now.
It's going to be a lot different too. I wonder what
Into the Blue. Thank you, Project Viking.
When it comes back, I wonder how it's going to be.
You saw that San Diego just announced that they're doing everything remotely and it's open to everyone.
That's crazy.
So
I don't understand.
That'll be interesting to see.
Well, I had those emails a while back that they were, it's been canceled. Of course, everybody knew that, but it's like a lot of these cons are waiting until the last minute to cancel. I don't.
What's not canceled here in Kentucky?
What?
Or across the 127 yard sale. The 127 yard sale, man, the longest yard sale in America.
You didn't hear my answer.
You said fried chicken, didn't you?
I said fried chicken. That's not canceled.
Fried chicken is never canceled.
Not here, brother.
Kentucky.
The 127 yard sale. I did a video of it last year, I think. Oh my gosh, people, my European watchers, my Canadian watchers were like, "Holy shit, are those people selling guns on the table?" And I was like, "Oh right, you guys are from another country." Like,
I have to ask. So,
yeah.
You guys have traveled. Does KFC taste different in other places?
I've had it in Japan, and yes, it does.
Well, of course, yeah. I'm talking within the U.S. I mean, within the U.S. If you listen, KFC will taste different in other countries.
Pretty much the same mediocre everywhere.
Not if you go to, my wife and I accidentally, we did not even purposely go with the kids to the first KFC in Kentucky. We were just driving by, we were hungry, and we're like, let's stop here. Oh, convenient enough. This is the first KFC. Cool. And I always joke around with my friends that there's because what is it? KFC has nine spices.
11
spices. 11, right? So now it's like they have 12 herbs and spices down there. So it's that one extra.
That's right.
That one extra is just probably some dirt,
Probably. But I don't know. I don't really try to eat at other Kentucky Fried Chickens ever.
So the meat standards in other countries is, of course, different. Hormones like in certain foods, and especially Canada. I know, like Canada again, like they are big on like if you go into those countries, some countries they want to know if you've even been around a farm where there are like hormones, like
Mm.
where like they just want to know if you even stepped foot on one. I guess because people try to smuggle like steroids in for animals. I have no idea. It's really weird, but I've noticed a lot of franchise food tastes different in other countries. That's why I asked. I assume like if you're in Kentucky, you have to like make you have to draw everybody to Kentucky for the best Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's what I was thinking.
Bur-
I think you'd be disappointed.
Kentucky bragging about yard sales with guns, America. Dude, let me tell you something. I've had foreign exchange students live with me from Europe, right? And
Mm,
one of the favorite things, like when they come over or when they bring family over to visit us and stay with us, this is amazing. Like, because I don't even think about this because it's life here. We go to Walmart and it's always the same thing. It's a bag of diapers you're holding in one hand and then a gun in the other. They always take that picture to send to their family and friends on Instagram and stuff, and they're like, "Where the fuck are you that you can hold diapers and buy a gun?" And he was like, "Walmart in America, baby."
so
And I don't even think about that because it's just life here in the United States.
So
That's
my
funny.
wife's Singaporean, and Singapore is like the size of New York City, land wise, right?
Hmm.
7 million people in Singapore. It's its own country. Used to be joined with Malaysia, and then they had like a civil divide, basically. So they're technically their own little whatever, but they don't have guns. Like you can't have citizens. There's no guns, no drugs. Like they'll hang people. Like if you have drugs, like it's like so to her. Uh, it's definitely a rich country and everything, a very clean country, a very awesome country. But taking her to Walmart for the first time, she saw like a deer feed just sitting out, because I went back to toys. It's really weird in
Hmm.
some Walmarts how toys and guns are right next to one
Yeah,
another.
no kidding.
So she's like, deer feed, like that's so awesome. You can just feed deer. That's cute. And I'm like, yeah, that's so
Oh,
then somebody shoots it. And she's horrified. She's horrified because I guess I didn't tell her right away. So it set this visual up in her head and she slept on it. Maybe she had dreams and aspirations one day to feed a deer by hand. And then I'm like, no, no. She saw it again. And I'm like, no, that's not for feeding. I mean, it's for feeding to kill it. You fatten it up and kill it. She was just horrified. I'm not a hunter by no. I've never hunted, so the fact that you can buy a gun to her is just alien. But it's weird. The police in Singapore, which mind you, I got to walk by Interpol headquarters in Singapore, like this big federal building for and she's just to leave the country to go to school in another country, she has to get documented through Interpol, and and that actually, when we got married, that actually kind of messed up. That flagged us on the immigration. They're like, "Well, why does Interpol have your fingerprints?" It's like because they make you do it because you're just leaving the country. Like they thought she was like a criminal mastermind or something. But it's really weird that they just have like these old. The police have the old revolvers, like you would see from gumshoe movies,
Yeah.
like they're just like 5 bullets, like revolver, and it's tied to their belt. Like you can't yank it away. Like it's really weird.
huh.
Like so it's weird to see a country not have guns, but have all you need is the one guy with the revolver, and then that polices everything if nobody has a gun. Like so, there is some theory to a civilization having a gun
Yeah.
escalation. Like yeah.
A friend of mine from Sweden walked around a Walmart in Kentucky like it was a zoo. I could see that. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like especially when I go overseas, or when I had some people from overseas, like from Europe, coming to work over here for a week. I would I would give them that culture shock of taking them to the Walmart in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. It's a
Yeah,
whole
but that's a
different
good
world.
Walmart.
It is if you're looking for toys because everybody's there buying guns and fishing supplies.
That's right.
Nobody's looking for that Optimus Prime. Damn it, I still need that Earthrise Prime. All right, we got to start wrapping up, guys. So Shane, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Where can people
No, it's
find
always
you when you're not hanging out with
uh,
us?
usually Twitter, Facebook. I do some interviews on talking and drawing. My YouTube channel. I do
Hmm.
some sketches, tutorials, just to see. People have a question on like feathering or something. I do something on it. But I've been doing a lot of creator interviews lately. Oddly enough, if you're a Transformers fan, my last interview was with Dan Didio. We talk about Beast Wars a lot and it
Oh,
with the
cool.
mainframe
Oh,
stuff. So it was interesting. It actually had to do with like your question about story and stuff. They were very limited to the technology they had at the
Hmm.
time. I mean,
I
they were
imagine.
some of the first, because before Beast Wars, I think there was only Toy Story and Bugs
Reboot.
or something. No, I'm talking about like there wasn't a show. I mean, of course, reboot, but there would only been like Toy Story as a CG movie and something else. Like they were like the first TV show budget
Yeah.
CG stuff.
Yeah.
So they had a lot more limitations on them. But that and on Shane Davis Art on Instagram, Shane Davis Art 2000 on Instagram. But that's about it.
Cool.
And
Cool.
Metalman that's coming out now. Like I think issue 7's coming out in a few weeks. I'm not sure what day though. But the second arc in Metalman is now shipping now that stores are back open, so you can
Good
find
deal.
me there.
And that's the collab you did with Dan, right? Dan
Dan,
Didio.
yeah. Well, I'm actually starting issue 11 now, so it's going to be a full 12 issue run, which I'm excited for.
Get you a nice hardcover of that, man.
Yeah,
Remember? We gotta talk
remember
DC into
hardcover.
doing
I
it.
talked to
Yeah, yeah, I
DC
know,
more
man.
about
You gotta talk to.
hardcovers.
Got to. Um, so thank you again, brother. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah,
Talk
definitely.
about other Saturday morning cartoons and toys we grew up with. Did Dan Didio ever talk about his reboot writing? My wife has this in like she found out that Dan Didio canceled reboot and it broke her heart. So
Well,
she's kind of upset
actually,
with him.
to answer the question, I did. I thought he did because I was asking him how much did you guys know where you were going with the original G1 Transformers at the beginning. He kind of acts like they did, but technically he didn't have. According to him in my interview, he was more on the what was the second series? Not Beast Wars, but the
Beast Machines.
Beast
Beast
Machines.
Machines. That was more Dan.
Mm.
So story wise, that was more of Dan. He was still there on Beast Wars, but according to him, that was where he had more of an influence on things. So to answer the question,
All right. So there is your answered. Um, Everybody, thank you so much for joining us.
yep.
I will be back on tomorrow at 11 o'clock, taking some questions and answers. Probably do about an hour or so because it's some. I gotta do some things I promised my wife before we leave though. So the little yard work I was supposed to do today, but things happen. Things happen. So Shane, please, come back and join us again.
Definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
Thank you, Dan. Always a pleasure having you on the
Good
show
Shane,
that
thanks.
you're on.
Yeah, yeah. Good
Um,
talking Transformers.
Hopefully, some more toys will be revealed the next time we talk. And everybody, thank you. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And I will see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody.